Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of what if Deku was the world's best pro gamer? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. God fucking damn it. What is this piece of shit FF-? Why would you be such a shithead and create the most idiotic game in the history of F programming? This is shit. This is such a big pile of bullshit I can't even see the other side. I hate every one of you F suckers who paid me to play this stupid game. How did his life become this? At 19 years old, Bakugo Katsuki's daily routine consists of screaming profanities at a camera while thousands of assholes watch and laugh. The streamer King Explosion Murder really thought that at this point in his career he wouldn't have to play these idiotic games for views. Don't get him wrong, Katsuki loves being a gamer. Since he was a little twerp whose height barely reached his mother's knee, he has loved games. He pestered his parents to get his first console at the tender age of 6, and he hasn't looked back ever since. When he was 12, he got his first computer. At 14, he put together a better one. At 16, he was already a rising star on Twitch. Thing is, Katsuki is a FING great player. Technically, strategically, and mechanically, he's a top contender in many of the current most popular games. He's versatile and can change game styles at the drop of a hat, and already demonstrated his expertise in FPS, battle royales, MOBAs, MMOs, you name it, and King Explosion Murder has destroyed it. He was even scouted by a professional team during the time he was streaming LOL frequently. However, the team pulled out their offer shortly afterward for believing they had irreconcilable differences. That's bullshit talk to say they are afraid of Katsuki FANG up their brand deals. The sheet is Bakugo Katsuki has anger management issues. Like, for real, and not just as an excuse to get away with being an a-hole like some shitheads do. In the beginning, playing video games helped him out with it. Beating up virtual bad guys was better than beating up annoying neighborhood kids. But as time went by and multiplayer games became the norm, video games quit being the solution and became part of the problem. King Explosion Murder is internationally famous for his rage breakdowns on stream. There are hundreds of videos on YouTube with his best moments. After the team dropped him, it got so bad that he was permabanned from Twitch. It was a really low point of his life that he hates thinking about. He considered quitting video games and never playing a DMN thing ever again. But Katsuki is stubborn as a FING mule and decided to keep playing. He reinvented himself as a streamer playing all manners of games. He is handsome, smart, witty, knows a shittin' about games and can work in front of the camera, so he got himself a nice fanbase with enough subscribers to be able to get by. Not that he's rich, far from it. He shares a house with 3 other fuckers who call themselves his friends Red Riot, Cellophane, and Chargebolt. He met the dipshits through the gaming communities so many years ago that Bakugo is embarrassed to admit for how long he has been enduring their idiocy. Red Riot plays fighting games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. He isn't half bad at them, he has been winning a couple of tournaments and his YouTube channel is doing well. His bigger competition right now is Testu. Yeah, that is the asshat's name. No, it doesn't make any FING sense, who is part of a really big team and can focus only on the competitions, while Shitty Hair needs to keep his YouTube updated to bring in the cash. Cellophane streams Minecraft and got his name after a video of his playing that shitty game completely mummified in cellophane with just his thumbs and index finger out touching the keyboard for 5 hours. He is a dumb F who does stupid shit to entertain his army of 11-year-old supporters, and Bakugo is terribly ashamed of being connected with him. Chargebolt is a complete idiot with no discernible skill whatsoever, if you don't count getting on Katsuki's nerves as a skill. He has a useless YouTube channel where he uploads the best moments of the week of several highly popular games and somehow draws hundreds of thousands of views. It's the biggest proof that most of the gamer community is completely brain-dead and can't identify quality content even if it grabbed them by the FING ball. Also worth mentioning is Pinky, Red Riot's girlfriend, who streams League of Legends and apparently lives in their place more than in her own, as if their shitty house wasn't crowded enough already. She's actually decent at the game but isn't taken seriously by the pro teams because she needs to stream showing her cleavage. And she can't make enough money to support herself with her stream if she doesn't show off her melons. As a gay man, Bakugo says that's FING bullshit and would actually feel bad for the beach if she didn't drive him FING insane trying to make him agree to get makeup done on him on camera. Basically, everybody is struggling and working hard every single day to bring in the coin and make their FING dream of living off of video games happen. Bakugo's situation isn't any different, and what really gets his PayPal running is when viewers pay him to play some game they know it's gonna drive King Explosion Murder crazy with anger. First time this sheet happened was completely by chance. The viewers wanted to watch him play Dark Souls but Katsuki didn't have the money to buy the game on the release week, so a handful of subscribers footed in the cash so Katsuki could play it. Turned out the FNG game was so difficult that Katsuki had rage episodes during the whole time he played it. It lasted 2 hellish weeks and in the middle of it, one subscriber said that he would have paid more if he knew how entertaining it would have been to watch Bakugo rage against that particular game. Things escalated after that. Because one thing was playing a game he wanted to play because subscribers bought him the DMN thing. However, now the fuckers were buying him games they knew he would hate just to see him rage. He tried putting his foot down on that. He would not play games he hated for the heck of it, but turns out he would, at least for the right amount of money. He didn't ask for the money, but the donations kept coming. $20 to play Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy, $15 to play Getting Over with Go for the Rage, $50 to play GO with Benner Foddy, Don't Let Us Down Kim, $40 to play Bennett Foddy, Do It for the Lulz Man. When he was getting over $400, he caved in and opened the biggest and worst precedent of his life. Now that is his thing. Every few weeks his viewers dig out a really annoying and terrible game to make him play. He tries luring them into better games, being funny enough while playing well-made, good-quality games to be entertaining to his fanbase. But those fuckers are sadistic assholes who want to make Katsuki suffer. So now he's playing the impossible game and praying he can keep his temper in check long enough to not break his headset. This game is so shitty it shouldn't even be called a game. There's no lore, no storytelling, no graphics, no strategy, no anything. It's just a screwed-up mechanic that demands you to click the FING button on the exact FING millisecond you should, or else you FING lose. This is bullshit. This isn't a game to test his abilities, it's a game to test his FING patience. He wins if he plays this sheet long enough without throwing his computer out through the window. Motherfucker IF clicked. This shitty Kias F stuck in dash. One small little pop-up notification on the bottom of his screen brought Katsuki to a complete halt. Deku is streaming StarCraft 2. Deku is the best StarCraft player in the world. He plays for UA, one of the best pro teams in the whole industry, and has been taking the WCS title home for the last 5 years undefeated. And he's Katsuki's crush since he first saw the boy in his computer. Deku almost never streams, his fame was built solely through winning tournaments. The boy is a gamer, not an entertainer, so every time he streams Katsuki drops everything he's doing and focuses his attention exclusively on Deku. With a quick, "This is it for today, fuckers. See you assholes tomorrow," to his viewers, Katsuki finishes his stream and goes to watch Deku's. Goddammit, he's cute. The boy showing up in the small box on the corner of his stream is everything Katsuki ever wanted in a boyfriend. Scratch that. Deku is everything he ever wanted in a husband. The little nerd could knock on his door right now and ask Bakugo to marry him, and he would gladly say yes. Deku looks adorable with his big green eyes, freckled face and horrible vintage Gamerch t-shirts. Every time he bites on his lip while thinking of a strategy, Katsuki feels the burning need to ravage him. But it's not just a physical attraction, Katsuki is drawn to Deku as a whole. Actually, Bakugo would even go ahead and say that Deku's brain is the sexiest part about him. The boy is a FING genius. He created strategies no one had ever thought of, leaving even the developers with their mouths hanging, and the speed in which he thinks and reacts in the game is something out of FING sci-fi. Katsuki wouldn't be impressed if it leaked that Deku is actually an alien from a super-developed planet or some shit like that. And the cherry on top, Deku's personality is the cutest and most adorable FNG sheet in the entire freaking world. He's painfully shy and self-conscious. He gets freaked out with the crowd screaming his name. He mumbles his analysis on the post-game interviews. Everything about him makes Bakugu's instincts scream to pick him up and protect him to death. Katsuki wants to hide Deku under his blankets and never let go. And the DMN nerd doesn't even know Bakugu exists. Most of the top gamers have heard of King Explosion Murder one way or another. Katsuki knows the amount of shit that is said about him on the industry's events. But not Deku. Deku isn't really big in social media. The kid already confessed he doesn't have Twitter on his phone and that his account is updated by his team's marketing specialist. The nerd doesn't even watch streams. He once said in an interview that he enjoys playing the games, not watching them, so any spare time that he has, and it's not much with his gruesome training hours, he uses to play other games casually. Deku doesn't even interact with his chat and subscribers. Katsuki would know. He has been Deku's subscriber since day FNG1. At the lowest points of his life in the last few years, Katsuki barely had money to feed himself and lived off instant ramen for almost a month, but he never cancelled his subscription because watching Deku fed his heart and soul like nothing else. During his stream, viewers are lucky to hear the nerd say an awkward, "Hi guys, I'm gonna be doing 2-to-2 timings today to try something new," and an even more awkward, "That is it for today, hope you liked it. See you guys next time," peppered with his indecipherable mumbling of numbers, percentages and strategies. But that's enough for Katsuki, more than enough, because Deku isn't acting. He isn't pretending to be something he's not to please the viewers. He shows the world exactly who he is. Every time he turns on the stream, he allows the viewers to watch a little bit of what is his everyday life. Sometimes, late at night in his bed, Katsuki dreams about how it would be to watch Deku play sitting by his side. The anxious mumbling, the genius ability to think on his feet, the biting of his lower lip, the rapid clicks with the mouse. Call him a sap, but Bakugu thinks that would be simultaneously the most adorable and sexiest sight ever. Stalking again, Explodey? Mina asks him from across the room by Kirishima's station. Their living room is gaming central. Each one of them has a corner of the room where their gaming station is set up. In the middle of the room, they have a ratty old couch in front of a huge TV where they play console games. The place is always buzzing with cooler sounds and Katsuki's angry screams, so everyone has their headsets on most of the time. Mina streams from Red Riot's PC while Shitty Hair is playing Mortal Kombat on the couch. Dunce Face is editing some video and Zero is being a clown to the mob of online kids that followers him. They usually spend their days like that, doing their own things and trading passing comments with each other. But every time they realize it has been a hot minute since they heard Kim scream, they check on him to see if the feisty blonde didn't have an aneurysm today is no different. If you pay close attention, you can actually see emotion on Baku's face while he gawks at Deku, Kaminari teases. Guys, give him a break. Deku never streams, let him enjoy it. Kirishima tries helping him out. Hair for Brains is the closest thing Katsuki has to a best friend, but that is only because the idiot doesn't take no for an answer. Sure, but maybe he wants to take this to his room? I don't want to see Bakugu enjoying himself. Zero says, wiggling his eyebrows in a suggestive manner and taking laughs from the other dipshits. Katsuki completely ignores their tirades. Nothing will make him shift his focus from Deku right now. The nerd is showing the same strategy he used to win the last BlizzCon. It's super secretary. Besides, Katsuki needs his whole attention sharp on the screen or else he can't keep track of what Deku is doing. He plays the game on a whole different level, calculating the resources by the millisecond to make sure he is optimizing everything. If Bakugu even blinks too long, he will miss Deku's move. When the Three Stooges realize they won't get a rise out of Katsuki and Kirishima decides he doesn't need to intervene anymore, they all leave Bakugu to his own devices. Deku plays for 2 heavenly hours and he just enjoys being in the virtual company of his crush. One day when Katsuki manages to make a name for himself that is not connected with being angry and aggressive, he will try talking to Deku, but right now he can't. Deku is so shy and skittish. The boy would probably run away in fear just from Katsuki introducing himself as King Explosion Murder. Hey guys. That is it for this stream, but before I go I just want to tell you all that I'll be competing in the StarCraft charity tournament in PAX. And that is it. Bye. Deku is going to be at PAX. The same FANG backs that is happening in his FANG town this weekend. Deku is going to be playing live. Sure, Bakugo can't introduce himself to the nerd yet, but nothing stops him from admiring Deku from the public. Shitty hair. Do you still have the extra tickets for PAX? Katsuki yells, making Kirishima jump on the couch startled and spill popcorn all over the floor. Movie camera laptop computer. Katsuki and Izuku buy at Draconic giggles. That is it. Bye. Izuku finally takes a deep breath, relieved when the camera is off. He wasn't made for streaming. Izuku is sure his lifespan diminishes about 6 months every time he has to stream. His anxiety goes through the roof, his heart rate raises exponentially, he sweats bullets. It's awful, and after he finally turns the stream off, he just feels like hiding away underneath his blankets and playing Stardew Valley on his Switch. Alright, it's over now. Here, I made you tea. Ochako shows up by his side with a kind smile and a steaming mug of calming tea. There in Izuku's gaming room that is a very small space crowded with his gaming station, a couple of armchairs, for the rare days he has company, some of his trophies, fan gifts, and gaming merch. He loves his little room, it's where he spends most of his time practicing and coming up with strategies. The girl pets his hair in a caring manner while Izuku inhales the fragrant steam and tries to get his heart rate back to normal. One would think that after so many years this would get easier, but it doesn't. When he was little, he would hide from the world and play video games. Unfortunately, now the world wants to watch him play and Izuku isn't very comfortable with that. Feeling better? Ochako asks softly. Izuku nods but still doesn't say a word. You did very well. You even told them about being at Kex. I'm sure Minoma will dash. You are sure I'll say this was barely the least he could do, right, Miss Manager? Minoma shows up by her side in his usual black suit and a fake smile. Izuku shivers and holds his teacup tight for his hands to not shake. A 2-hour stream is almost the same as nothing, and as always, you didn't interact with the chat even once. And what is worse, you didn't list your sponsors and didn't show up the gears they sent you. You aren't even wearing the team shirt where the sponsors' logos show up. At each critique, Izuku gets smaller and smaller in his chair. He screwed up again, he can never get this right. Why is it so hard to talk to his fans? Izuku knows that it's his job, but he never does it properly. His fans must be so disappointed with him. But he gave the news about PEX. He even said it's for charity. Ochako pleads for him. And the sponsors' logos are on the stream's overlay. I'm sure everybody saw them. Also, it's impossible to not see what gear he is wearing with all these LEDs blinking. There's no need for him to rub it on the viewers' faces. I'm the marketing specialist here, and you are? Oh yes, a glorified babysitter for gamers who can't remember to go to sleep without you telling them to. Now that we are clear on that, let me be the one who instructs our players about how they should stream, talk about the sponsors, and what to say in interviews. While you can check if they washed behind their ears in the shower. Minoma says to Ochako with a voice dripping in venom, then turns to Izuku to keep spitting his poison. I expect you to be on your best behavior this weekend. The charity tournament is a prime marketing opportunity and the sponsors will be expecting you to make appearances at their booths and talk about their products in the after-game interviews. The blonde businessman takes a step closer to Izuku, looks deeply inside his eyes and threatens him. You do know what happens if you don't deliver with your responsibilities, right? Izuku nods, terrified. Great, I'd hate to cut the funding on your friend's dreams. And with that, Minoma turns around and goes away, leaving Izuku and Ochako stunned in place. It's always the same threats. Do this or else we won't have money to keep the other players on the roster. Izuku hates letting down his friends. They're all amazing players and deserve their spot in the UA gaming house. You know he's lying, every player here earns his own keep with tournaments and streams, Ochako says softly. He can't fire them, Shudo would never allow. But if I made them more money, they would be able to sign more players on the team and Shudo wouldn't have so many issues with his father, Izuku mumbles guilty. Shudo's father is an a-hole. He hates video games. I don't think he will change his opinion about Shudo owning a professional gaming team just because you've increased the revenue. Ochako crouches on the floor to look straight into Izuku's eyes. UA is doing great, We're not hurting for money from sponsors. But that's not to say I don't think you shouldn't interact with your public more. You have subscribers who have been following you before you have even won your first big tournament. I'm sure they really care about you and would love to hear your voice some more. Izuku gives a sad chuckle. Nobody cares about my voice, Chaco. They just want to watch the game. Izuku takes a sip from his tea. I think I'm gonna go to my bedroom now. Ochako pets his cheek. Sure, sweetie. I'll call you later for dinner. Izuku gets up from his chair and takes his tea to his bedroom. His room is also small and just as crowded with gaming merch and gifts as his gaming room is. Izuku climbs on his bed and grabs his Swift from the dock on the nightstand. He knows he is acting like a child, hiding away on his room because Monoma made him do some work stuff he didn't like, but there isn't even anything he can do to make things right now. He knows Monoma is an a-hole and Ochako has a point when she says the team doesn't have money issues, but at the same time, Izuku knows he's a mess and he should communicate better with his fans. Ochako is right, he has a very loyal fanbase filled with really nice people who love gaming just as much as he does. So why can't he just talk to them? A big part of Izuku wants to interact more with his public and with people in general. He's friendly with almost all the people in the industry that he met in person. However, he can't help but freak out when he knows there is a camera pointed at him and thousands of people are watching him play but no one is in the room with him. It's seriously distressing to him to be seen by such a big public. In live events, it isn't any better. Even though he can see the public, it's still terrifying having so many sets of eyes watching his every move. And the interviews. Don't get him started on how awful those interviews are. How can those interviewers expect him to crunch down his strategy to just 2 or 3 sentences? He never knows what to say. He doesn't know if they expect him to go into detail or just skim through what he did. When he does go into detail, everybody looks at him like Deku grew another head and is spouting absolute nonsense. And when he just schemes through, they look at him like he just told them the sky is blue. There's no winning. So what always happens is that they ask a question and Izuku freaks out and mumbles his process of coming up with an answer, and the whole public thinks he's crazy. Sometimes Izuku thinks that people keep giving him awards and inviting him to tournaments just to make fun of how much he can screw up every social interaction during the event. He has read the Reddit posts of everyone making fun about him being unable to form a coherent sentence. Izuku knows there are a lot of assholes on the internet just waiting for a chance to laugh at him. Whatever, Deku will deal with PX when he has to this Saturday. Until then, he will enjoy the fact that the WCS is in the off-season and play Breath of the Wild under his blanket while drinking Ochako's tea. Movie camera laptop computer. Katsuki and Izuku buy at Draconic Giggles chapter text. It's PX day and Katsuki feels the excitement running through his veins. This is the first time he will get the chance of watching Deku play in real life. He barely slept last night. He kept entering Discord to see what the other losers were expecting Deku to play. It's an unimportant charity tournament. Certainly he won't bring the strategies he will use in the WCS. But maybe what Deku doesn't play can speak volumes about what he will play when the important tournaments start. Bakugo has several theories about that. Finally, when the sun barely started rising, Katsuki jumps out of bed to get ready. He needs to look good. He's kind of a public figure in events like these. A couple of people may snap photos of him, and he wants to look his best in case that happens. He looks at his clothes full of doubt. He really wants to put on his Deku merch to support the little nerd, but if photos of him wearing it hide the web, it can get a little awkward to explain. His viewers don't know about his crush, and the last thing Bakugo needs is a whole chat of trolls mocking him for his unrequited love. Katsuki ends up picking a random StarCraft shirt, a black jeans jacket, ripped jeans, several game bracelets and necklaces, a cap to hide his face, and his orange Converses. After getting ready, he kicks his friends out of bed at about 8 in the morning to make sure they get there early and secure the best FING seats in the house. Bakugo won't allow their laziness to make him watch Deku from afar. Get the hell out of bed, dunce face, Katsuki screams, pulling the covers out of Kaminari's body. The sleeping boy curls around himself and whines. If you aren't up and ready in 5 minutes, I'm bringing the water. He warns before barging into Siro's room and doing the same. Kaminari crawls on the floor trying to get clothes, while Siro just gives up and pulls a hoodie on top of his sleeping shirt. Both boys are crying and grumbling about blonde bullies and mean roommates when they hear Mina screaming. What the F-explodey? We could be naked. As if I care, raccoon. Just get your butt ready before I make you. Several more yells, cries, grumbles, and threats were thrown around before the 5 gamers were shoved tight into Kirishima's car. Bakugo is a ball of nerves while the other occupants are in several levels of sleep deprivation and set off. But Katsuki doesn't care, he will see Deku playing today and that's all that matters. Baku. The newspaper guy hasn't even dropped by yet. There must be a law about getting out of the house before the newspaper arrives or something. Shiro grunts from his spot at the front, Kaminari, Ashido and Bakugo are squished in the back. I won't get stuck in the FNG line with the rest of the extras just because you lazy buttes couldn't get out of bed. Mina is putting on her makeup in the car. The girl has some serious ability at not poking her eye out while getting ready in movement. Bakugo is impressed and makes sure to praise his friend. How many FNG times have you been late to know how to put on this sheet on your face in a moving car, raccoon? I think I just heard Explodey say, Mina, put makeup on me to make me pretty for Deku. What do you think, guys? Hell to the no, Bakugo screams, but it's drowned by the agreements that come from the others. Gotta look your best for your man, bro. Make him look like a pretty little princess, Mina. Wait, let me get my camera. I need to record this. Kaminari says, picking up his Nikon. You all, I'm not letting you put makeup on me, beach. Oh, but yeah you are, Baku. Or do you prefer for me to send a tweet right now saying King Explosion Murder harassed me and is now at PEX so everybody should go tell him how bad it is to bother Pinky? Katsuki ends up allowing her to put eyeliner on him. It's that or the girl will send her army of horny nerds after his but during the whole event, so eyeliner seems like a better option. When they get to PEX, the gamers begin feeling more awake and excited. All of them have friends to meet, merch to buy and games to check. Bakugo's crush isn't the most important thing for the 4 of them. They got there so early, there's barely a line. Some fans recognize them and they have to sign some sheet, but nothing much. It's been a little over a year since King Explosion Murder got really famous and he hasn't been to an event as big as PX since that happened. He really isn't much into conventions. Having people asking him to curse at them gets old really fast. He doesn't want to feel like a weird SXL FTSH worker. On smaller ones, it's already annoying enough, but in his excitement to see Deku he didn't think about how bad it could get at PAX, and from the looks he was getting and comments he was hearing in the line, it could get really bad. Whatever, he will only have to put up with it until he can hide away on the first row of the auditorium where Deku is playing. After that, he will keep his butt down waiting to see Deku play and, after the matches, he will go home. Easy as FNG pie. No shitty fan will get in his way of seeing his crush. Katsuki manages to survive the line only needing to yell at 2 idiots, sign things for 4 people and have his photo taken without his permission about a dozen times. Overall, it was not that bad. When the doors of the convention open, he sprints towards the small auditorium where Deku would be playing that morning. He was not the only one to try securing a front row spot, but he got there early enough that he still managed to get a nice place. He had 1 hour to kill before the tournament begins, and at least 3 hours before he can see Deku, so Bakugo gets comfortable on his chair and pulls his phone to kill time until then. Are you really gonna sit here the whole day? Dunceface asks him. The idiot squad followed him to the auditorium despite his protests. I'm not gonna lose my FA spot. Katsuki grunts. That's stupid, Explodey. There are so many important people to meet here. Developers, gamers, managers, sponsors. You should come with us to network, Mina argues. We should have made our gaming house uniforms already, it would have been good marketing. Kirishima ponders. It's not a gaming house if we pay the FING rent, idiots. No sponsors, no gaming house. It's a house and we play games on it, Kim, so it's a gaming house. Kaminari states and the other 3 agree with him. Get the F out of my face before anyone recognizes you idiots and come to talk shit. I'm here to watch the FING tournament and that is what I'll do. Katsuki crosses his arms to show this was definitive. Whatever, let's go, Mina says, shaking her head at Bakugo. You can't run away from the business side of this forever. He's not running away. He isn't. It's just that the business part of gaming doesn't like Bakugo Katsuki, and he refuses to change who he is. He doesn't want to rage and get furious every day, but he's a passionate man. He always says what's on his mind and he doesn't pull his punches. He doesn't think he should change these things about himself to fit the sponsor's expectations of a brainless and emotionless mannequin to put gear on. That's one of the things he loves the most about Deku. He is who he is. Unapologetically nerdy and awkward, hyper-focused on the game and shitty when talking to the public. That's who Deku is, and if any sponsor wants a piece of his massive following, they got to accept the boy for all he is, and all he isn't. Katsuki wants to be like that. He wants to find fans and companies that support him with all his ups and downs. He won't become a pasteurized version of himself on camera to please a FING marketing goon who doesn't even know the difference between F2P and FPS. As soon as his idiotic friends go away, he ignores what Raccoon said, pulls his cap over his face and fumbles around on his phone. In the Discord server for StarCraft 2 that he is in, everybody is talking about the PX tournament. The idiots make bets of what strategies will be brought, which pro players are winning and shit like that. Katsuki tries giving his input but is shut down by a few new members. That happens way too often since he doesn't use his King Explosion Murder alias in anything related to Deku subscribing to his stream, commenting on his Twitter, participating in Discord discussions. Katsuki has a secret account in every platform just to follow Deku incognito, and in all of them, he uses his first gamer nickname, Kakin. Hey, he was 6 when he came up with that and simply entered his IRL nickname when the game asked him to, so F you. It's just a name, and it wouldn't even matter if it wasn't the fact that Kakin sounds distinctively feminine for gamers. And gamers are a FING misogynistic bunch. So Bakugo has to put up with idiots telling him to make them sandwiches when he disagrees with their analysis. Katsuki really doesn't enjoy being gay in times like these, but those assholes are probably straight, so the women are the ones who will suffer from their pathetic attempts at flirting. Later the dipshits will even have the galls to complain about friendzone. No wonder Mina doesn't mind Kirishima's idiotic hair. Apparently, being a decent person was already a luxury when looking for a gamer boyfriend, so she had to settle for the stupidest dye job on the face of the earth in her partner. In his regular Twitter, Bakugo finds out that word that he is at PX is already out and some of his followers are looking for him. He adjusts his cap over his face and checks the time, just 20 more minutes and the matches should begin. Deku is probably already waiting on the player area behind the stage. What Bakugo wouldn't give to have access to this place, and to the cute boy there. When the lights on the auditorium go down, Katsuki can finally take off his cap. The place is filled to capacity, at least 1,000 people watching there and God knows how many more online. The presenters make a few stupid jokes to get the crowd pumped, tease the fact they will be doing giveaways later and then call for the caster's table. It's all pretty standard, but Katsuki enjoys the whole thing. The first 2 players to come up the stage look cocky and self-assured. The fuckers are probably feeling on top of the world for being called to compete in such a high-profile event. It may not be worth anything for the WCS score, but it's worth lots of reputation points. However, their matches are boring and predictable. The players bring out the most standard meta strategies and apply them to, alright, levels of precision. Katsuki's not impressed at all. He thinks even he could have put on a better show. These 2 suckers won't have a FING chance when Deku shows up. The next 2 players aren't much better. Bakugo doesn't even bother to learn their names. He told in the Discord server that Deku would wipe the floor with these extras and that his boy wouldn't drop even one match. And by the looks of it, he was right on the money. It's past noon when Deku finally appears on the stage. Bakugo has been sitting there for over 3 hours, his butt hurts, he is getting hungry and he needs to pee. But all of that goes to the back of his mind the second he sees Deku. Sheet, he's even cuter in real life. His pants are baggy, barely holding on to his tiny waist. He's wearing the UA's uniform shirt and he's carrying a notebook on his hand. Deku looks so delicate and precious that it tugs on Katsuki's heart. His boy is at least 1 head shorter than the other player, and their opening handshake looks more like Goliath trying to intimidate David, but Deku barely looks at him. And that's because Deku is clearly freaking out with the crowd that started screaming his name the moment he was called and hasn't stopped several minutes later. Katsuki feels like yelling at everyone, Keep down, dipshits. You are scaring him, but he knows he can't. The whole thing lasts less than 5 minutes, and at the first indication the presenter gives that the players can get in position, Deku runs away like a frightened little mouse. When the match starts, it's brutal. Deku sets an unforgiving, ruthless pace from the get-go, and the other player is left wondering what the hell happened. The series goes 2-0 before the players warm their seats. Katsuki feels torn between immense pride at Deku and being a little annoyed that his cute nerd will stay so little time on the stage. Before and between the matches, Deku scribbled furiously in his notebook. The strategies that those paper sheets hide could be worth thousands of dollars, but for Katsuki they just represented a small glimpse of the mind of the boy who controls his thoughts without even knowing. As Deku and his defeated opponent leave the stage, another set of new players is brought. From that point on, the energy of the gamers completely shifted. If before they were cocky and proud of themselves, now they are doubtful and anxious. Seeing the great difference in skill level from Deku to every other contestant probably freaked the fuckers out. That's the mark of true losers, Katsuki thinks, to see greatness and be scared of it. The two new players played as if they knew the one who won would be ripped to shreds for public appreciation. When the winners of the first 2 matches were brought in for the next phase, they also looked a little green. Bakugo can't help but imagine that, in the backstage area, all the other players are cowering in a corner together while Deku ignored them in favor of writing in his notebook. When his little green nerd comes back on the stage, it's to not leave again until the end. Deku takes down every single one of his opponents without breaking out any of his well-guarded new strategies. No move he pulled should have been a novelty for the seasoned players there, but they were all employed with such flawless mastery that the opponents were helpless to react. No wonder Deku plays on the Korean server. None of the extras in this country hold a candle to him. But enough of drooling about the little nerd's gameplay, time to appreciate the after-game interview. Bakugo is buzzing in his seat waiting for it. Now, let's hear from our great Victor Deku. The presenter is a middle-aged guy famous on the FPS community. The fucker doesn't know the first thing about StarCraft 2, and Bakugo is instantly annoyed with him. While Katsuki is mulling over the fact he could do a much better interview with Deku than that a-hole, the pro gamer walks slowly towards the center of the stage. His face is down, stuck in his notebook, and one of the stage assistants has to fix his trajectory to the interview spot. He doesn't look up from the notebook not even once. Katsuki thinks it's terribly endearing how nervous he gets with this sort of thing. So, that was quite an impressive series. You didn't drop even one game. Congratulations. The presenter shoves the microphone between Deku's face and the notebook, trying to give the boy his cue. Deku looks confused between the notebook, the microphone, and the presenter a few times before answering an uncertain "thank you." Some chuckles and quiet laughs come from the crowd as the presenter stays frozen in place waiting for Deku to say anything else. The boy doesn't, so he tries again. I've heard my friends from the caster's desk describe your strategies, but I'm sure everyone would like to hear about them from the man himself. So can you tell us what kind of gameplay you went for today? Deku starts mumbling very quietly while he rapidly flips through his notebook as if he was looking for some strategy he wrote down to describe. The process takes a while, and the presenter's smile seems to be failing when he finally gets to the page he wants. The pro gamer reads the page for a moment, nodding with his head, then turns to the microphone to give his answer. I press the buttons B, L, T, and A. He looks straight to the presenter when he gives his response as if he's completely sure he nailed this interview. It's the FING cutest thing Bakugo has ever seen, hands down. Forget shitty videos of kittens playing with yard or that stupid bird saying it loves its babies. Forget even FANG pictures of small Labrador puppies wearing service dog in training vests. Nothing is cuter than Deku's expression when he thinks he got the answer right. His eyes sparkle, his lips have this little hint of a smile, his whole face seems to be open and honest. The presenter, however, doesn't seem to share Bakugo's opinion. You pressed the buttons? The guy asks, confused, and Deku's confidence quickly crumbles. Weiss, he stutters, then tries completing, in the right order, and at the right time. At the right time? Bakugo wants to get on stage and smack the living sheet out of the presenter. He's doing it all wrong. He's making Deku more anxious. X exactly, teach the rewrite time is papa paramount. Now it's FENG over, Deku is stuttering. Bakugo has seen enough interviews with him to know that once Deku starts stuttering, it only goes downhill after that. Just like clockwork, he sees Deku going red from embarrassment and start mumbling while flipping over his notebook again. The presenter tries asking a couple more questions, but Deku doesn't even seem to hear them. The presenter wraps up the interview changing the subject completely while 4 busty girls with very skimpy attires invade the stage to distribute freebies to the crowd. Deku quickly and quietly receives his award in the corner of the stage, and Katsuki sees him being taken away in a matter of seconds. Alright, the show is over, it was good while it lasted. As soon as his heart isn't fluttering from the sight of Deku, the rest of Bakugo's body reminds him he's almost psing himself and he hasn't eaten anything in over 6 hours. He pulls his cap back over his head and gets out of the auditorium to find a bathroom. Katsuki basically sprints through the corridors to find somewhere to pee. He doesn't even check where he's going. When that issue is fixed, he starts looking around for any indication of where he can get food. It's a FING big event, so he finds a nice big food court, but it's obviously crowded as F-. Since the lines seem to go on forever, Bakugo decides to just pick the smaller one and buy whatever he finds at the end of it. It's all gonna be shit anyway, he hates fast food. Standing in his place in line, Katsuki picks his phone and starts going through his apps. There are pictures of Mina with other well-known gamer girls with hashtags of #girlpower, #gamergirls and #smashtheirballs that seem to be trending on Twitter already. Kaminari has been posting the most stupid videos of him trying to troll game developers with Zero. Kirishima posted a picture of him arm wrestling Tetsu saying, "The only way we can settle this." After checking Twitter, he goes to Discord thinking he'll see those idiots groveling over Kaken's feet since all his predictions were right. That's not what is going on there, though. N00 kill 3R. OMG Deku screwed up again. Zergs for life. Beach can't put 2 words together. Player 9000. Pressed. Buttons. Sigmatum. GR4YM4G3. Reddit is having a field day on the guy. Katsuki goes to Reddit immediately and F-. Deku is trending. Sheet. This is all that stupid presenter's fault. People are creating memes about Deku and pressing buttons as if he was FANG Kanye West after a meltdown. Usually, Kaken comes to Deku's defense every time some a-hole pulls the sheet in the StarCraft 2 esports subreddit, but now the fire is so big even he doesn't think he can stop it. He's so caught up reading and trying to respond to the sheet people are saying about Deku on Reddit that Katsuki doesn't even notice that the amount of people getting together around him has nothing to do with the food line. The rumble goes higher every minute. If he had paid attention, Bakugo would have heard the words, "It's Kim. Is it really that rage streamer here? And, I wish he would yell at me." But he didn't, he barely hears when the cashier asked for his order. Looking around he notices he is in a burrito stand, so he just says quickly, "I want a carnitas 1, extra hot sauce. Oh, and give me a food water." He does hear the exclamations after that. It's really him. King. Tell me to f off. Please. Can you yell at me on video? My friends won't believe it. Sir, here is your food. The attendant says. Katsuki picks up his wrapped burrito and the water bottle and looks around astonished. There seem to be hundreds of shitty extras looking at him and getting closer. That doesn't seem right. He needs to get out of here, he needs to hide. King. Please. I need a photo. Can you play my game on your stream? I made it in Paint and you control it with the arrow buttons. Kem. Sign my bub. One fucker tries grabbing his arm as Katsuki tries to make his way through the crowd, finally breaking his attempt at keeping quiet. Get the F away from me, you filthy extras. He screams and that's exactly what the crowd wanted. They come at him like zombies asking to be yelled at, to take pictures with him, and all kinds of stupid shit. Katsuki kicks and screams to get away, but the more he reacts, the more excited the crowd gets. When Bakugo thinks about giving up and accepting that his fate is to be mauled by a crowd of rabid nerds, 2 huge, bulky bodyguards open way through the sea of people. They grab Bakugo as if he was a rag doll and quickly drag him away from the crowd. Katsuki hears the guys talking in their radios with who he supposes are the event's organizers. "We got him, what do you want us to do with him now?" "Alright, copy that." The bodyguard looks at him and says, "Apparently you're too famous to walk the event. They told us to take you to a pro player area to hide. When the crowd disperses, we will get you to your car." Katsuki can only nod and hold on tight to his burrito. He really saw death in the eye just now. That changes a person. Maybe he should start working for charity, giving back to the community, finding Jesus. The bodyguards run through the throngs of people making shifts and turns through paths Bakugo hasn't seen before. They only slow down when they enter the corridors where only people with special IDs walk by talking in their walkie-talkies. Bakugo is in the backstage. He tries looking around to see if he can find anyone famous, but the bodyguards are still not done with him. The giants keep dragging Katsuki until they reach a small back door. One of the bodyguards opens the door and the other shoves Bakugo inside like a sack of potatoes. "And don't get out until we say so," the bodyguard warns before shutting the door closed. Katsuki scrambles back to his feet, checks if his burrito is still in one piece and realizes he lost his water somewhere along the way. He sighs annoyed at the realization, but then he has to admit that it could be worse. Losing a bottle of water doesn't seem so bad in comparison to certain death. Looking around the room for the first time, Katsuki sees he is in some kind of lounge area. There are two big couches in the center, some chairs scattered around, and a table on the corner with cookies, water and a thermos that probably contain coffee. Not bad, even better that he seems to be completely alone. He can eat, take a nap on the couch and wait for time to pass playing with his phone. And since he lost his bottle, Bakugo is sure the organizers won't mind if he helps himself to some of their water. However, when he gets close to the table he notices something funny, two red Jordans peeking from the hem of the white tablecloth. There is some dipshit hiding beneath the FANG table. Katsuki doesn't think twice before crouching down and pushing the tablecloth up to see who is playing hide and seek in the backstage of PAX. But maybe he should have, because when he sees the person behind the curtain, his brain totally shuts down. If are yo dash. There, sitting underneath the table with tears running down his face and hugging a journal, is Deku. He says, "YP," when he sees Bakugo and trembles even harder. His cheeks are wet with tears and the green of his eyes stand out against the redness of his face. Deku tries scrambling away scared, but he can't go far because of the wall behind him. That brings pain to Katsuki's heart instantly and he attempts to calm the boy. "Hey chill. Sheet, calm down. It's cool." Bakugo mimics the calming voice his father used on him when he was the one having freakouts. "Are you alright? Do you want me to call someone for you?" Deku shakes his head emphatically saying no. "Alright, cool. I won't call anyone. Don't worry." Bakugo whispers. "Can I sit down with you?" Deku looks torn for a moment but, eventually, he nods warily. Katsuki sits down by his side with his back against the wall and lets the white cloth fall down to the floor again, shielding them away from the world. Izuku screwed up. He really tried to make it right, but, in the end, he performed even worse than usual. Midoriya thought that, since this was just a charity event, he could focus all his efforts on getting ready for the interviews and just play his most basic strategies. The whole time writing and rewriting everything that could and did happen in the matches. Izuku thought he was ready for anything the presenter could ask him. But he overthought the whole thing, and freaked out when the interview was actually on the way. It was a complete disaster. The whole internet is making fun of him now, even people who don't even know what StarCraft 2 is. And Minoma still wants him to make appearances and talk to the media on their sponsors' booths later. As if Izuku hasn't made a fool of himself enough for his whole life today. Ochako wanted to stay with Izuku until this all passed. But she had to go help the other players make their rounds with the sponsors and hope that, if they do a good enough job, Izuku won't have to go through any more interviews. So she left him alone in this room, and as soon as no one was around to see how pathetic he is, he hid beneath the desk to get a hold of his anxiety. Izuku knew he shouldn't check Reddit. People there can get very mean. But there are a couple of his fans that always say nice things about Deku no matter how badly he screwed up, and some of them write some really good analysis of his matches. Today, however, no one is even talking about the matches or strategies. There are only hundreds of memes and people making fun of him. Scrolling through the threads, Izuku feels his anxiety rising to even higher levels. Now he's a complete joke to the entire world. Monoma will never let him forget about it. But what really brings tears to his eyes is when he finds a name he recognizes in the site. Kaken. Kaken is one of Deku's most loyal fans. Probably the most loyal. They've been subscribed to Deku since he created his Twitch channel, and Izuku already saw Kaken's posts on Reddit several times. They're very intelligent and have some good inputs about Deku's matches. And, as they're doing now, Kaken always comes to his defense when people are being cruel to Deku. After reading Kaken's attempts of defending him and blaming the interviewer, Izuku has to put down the phone because his tears are dripping on the screen. Izuku doesn't deserve Kaken's kindness. Deku is an awful person who never properly talks to his fans and subscribers, even though Kaken and a few others are always backing him up. Never before Izuku got so embarrassed about his own inability to talk to people properly. As he is there, feeling guilty and ashamed, someone finds him hiding under the table. That someone is the most handsome boy Izuku has ever seen. He's dressed stylishly and has eyeliner on his piercing red eyes. He looks more like an idol than a gamer. Katsuki and Izuku under the table by at Draconic giggles. At first, Izuku freaks out, but the stranger talks kindly to him and has a very worried expression on his face. Izuku must be really looking like a train wreck because the other boy crouches down and sits by his side under the table. What got you like that? After crushing those useless fuckers. Expected to see you celebrating with your friends. The stranger's voice is soft and gentle, even though his words are harsh. Izuku brushes the tears of his face, embarrassed. Oh, you saw that? The blonde smirks at him. Hell yeah. Only Deku could wipe the floor using the most traditional build order of all. That was not a win, that was complete destruction. It was effing great to see. Izuku blushes with the praises and a sad smile pulls on his lips. I guess you didn't see what happened later. After the win? I just saw a clown who wouldn't be able to get past the tutorial ask you some idiotic question to which you gave an answer his tiny brain could comprehend. The blonde says that with a half smirk and a cocky attitude, and Izuku can't help the giggles that come out of him. That's mean. Izuku says, still giggling, and the stranger gives him a beautiful smile. I'm very mean and rude. He answers matter-of-factly, raising an eyebrow. Izuku frowns. You're not. You're very kind. You're here cheering me up after the mess I made, and I don't even know your name. The blonde blushes a little and looks down to their laps. My name is Kaken, my name is Kaken. Izuku's eyes go huge when he hears the name. It can't be, can it? Kaken is not such a rare nickname that no other person could have it, but it does seem like a big coincidence that two people who know who he is are called Kaken. But, at the same time, it's an even bigger coincidence for the person Izuku recognizes from Reddit to be there at PX. And the Reddit Kaken didn't say anything about watching the matches live, so it's probably not the same person. Even though, Izuku feels even more comfortable around the blonde after hearing his name. Thanks for keeping me company, Kaken. If it weren't for you, I'd still be freaking out and then I'd screw up even worse when I go give interviews later. Izuku says, getting a little dejected when he remembers he still has to put himself in the public eye again today. Why are you doing this sheet if you hate it so much? He asks softly. I have to. Gotta keep the sponsors happy, or else me and my friends won't have jobs anymore. Izuku explains, his eyes filling with tears again. Kaken nods and his mouth sets in a firm line. They both stay quiet for a while until Kaken speaks again. Can't you not give an interview? I told you, I have to go do rounds in the sponsors' booths and talk to the media. I don't have a choice. No, what I mean is, you need to talk to them, but do you need to answer questions? Kaken asks, looking at him with his beautiful red eyes. I don't know. I never thought about that. How will I know what to say if they don't ask questions? Izuku looks back at him confused. I mean, from my experience, the people asking the question are either assholes or idiots. So I prefer just saying what the F I want and letting them deal with it. Izuku thinks for a second before answering, I don't know. You may know what to say, but I'd probably just freeze. I could help you. Help me? Really? Izuku fills with hope thinking that Kaken may have the answer to his problems. Yeah, we can write a small speech for you to give to each sponsor and then you memorize it and say it to the camera. Easy as pie. The blonde a cocky smirk and somehow gets even more handsome. Izuku wishes he could send Kaken to talk to the media in his place. The boy is good-looking, charming and very communicative. He's a much better option than Izuku to any of the sponsors. But since he can't really change places with Kaken, then maybe having the other boy help him out making his statement is a good option. I'd like that very much. Thank you, Kaken. Izuku smiles brightly to him. Kaken makes a little choking sound and scratches his head before answering. You're welcome. How many sponsors do you have to visit? 3. Izuku answers with dread on his stomach. He saw how many memes were created just with the after-game interview. He doesn't even want to think about how bad it can get with 3 media appearances. Alright, it's not much. Yeah, it is. What would you like to talk about? Izuku shrugs. Nothing? Kaken chuckles. Don't think they will give you that option, nerd. Tell you what, the first one you can talk about the matches of today to redo that awful interview the clown made. That sounds good. In theory, Izuku is sure he can't pull it off. In the second and third, one you need to talk about next season of WCS, and the other, maybe say a little of your impressions on the last update. Izuku looks at him warily for a moment before shaking his head. No way, there's no way I can say any of this. I'm going to screw up like always. Kaken nudges him with his shoulder and speaks with a tender voice. Hey, give me some effing credit, nerd. I know what I'm doing, you're going to destroy those interviews. Okay, alright. Izuku agrees and opens his notebook. The time passes completely unnoticed between them. They probably stayed there hiding beneath that table creating the statements for, at least, a good 3 hours. It could have gone quicker if they didn't get sidetracked so often talking about the game. Kaken is very smart and knows so much about games. They talk not only about StarCraft 2, but also about several old-school games both of them have played when they were children and about the new releases. Conversation between them flows so easily, it was like they were childhood friends and not people who just met. In the end, Izuku has 3 very concise statements to give to the press that he thought he could manage. Still his anxiety rises again. He wants to keep talking to Kaken and is afraid the other man will leave now that he had finished helping. Izuku decides he has to be brave and ask for Kaken's contact information, or else he may never again get a chance to talk to the blonde. Thank you so much, Kaken. I'd never be able to write this on my own. Izuku says smiling. Kaken blows raspberry. Don't mention it. I haven't done shit, I just dumbed down your answers to the general IQ level of the public. Izuku giggles. You can't call the public stupid, Kaken. The hell I can't. There's some dumb sheets, no wonder they can't understand your line of thought. I mean, I'm a effing genius and even I struggle to keep up with you. He says with a smirk in place. I think you can understand me just fine, Izuku says, blushing and looking down. I really like talking to you. Kaken's breath hitches and when Izuku looks up he sees the blonde's face is turned away from him. I really like you too. I'm a freaking fan, so that's obvious. But I do like talking to you, not only watching you play and cheat. Katsuki mumbles and Izuku thinks he can see a blush on his cheeks as well. So cute. Would you mind giving me your contact information? So we could talk some more another time? Izuku manages to ask but his heart is pounding wildly in his ears. Yes. Kaken yells loudly making Izuku startle. Yeah, that'd be cool. The boy shrugs, trying to play it cool but Izuku can see his hands are shaking on top of his thighs. It's cute, Izuku isn't used to not being the most anxious person in the room. Kaken must be really a fan of his. After fumbling to produce his phone, Kaken shoves it in Izuku's hands without looking. Izuku puts down his number and hesitates for a second thinking about what name to save it with. Everyone in the community knows him as Deku, but the ones who have his private number know his name is Izuku. He could imagine Ochako freaking out about Izuku giving his phone number and real name away to someone he just met. But Izuku feels really safe and comfortable around Kaken so he writes down Izuku, Deku, on the phone hoping for the best. He sends a quick, laughing face emoji to himself so he can save Kaken's number and gives the blonde his phone back. Kaken takes the phone and goes through it quickly as Izuku takes his own phone to save the boy's number in it. Izuku, Kaken whispers softly by his side. Yes. Deku turns to look at him when he hears his name. You put on your real name. Katsuki says amazed. Well, yeah, Izuku answers a little self-conscious with an unsure smile. We are friends now, right? Izuku certainly hopes they are, or else this will get really awkward. He looks back to his phone to give Kaken a chance to ignore what he said. Katsuki. The boy says by his side. You can save my number as Katsuki. Izuku smiles brightly to Kaken and says, Nice to meet you, Katsuki. Laptop computer video game. Deku and Kaken keep talking about their favorite games and everything they have in common for at least another hour before responsibilities come to drive them away from each other. In this case, responsibility comes in the form of Uraraka Ochako arriving to take Izuku to a sponsor appearance. Deku? Are you here? Are you hidden? Asks as she enters the room. That's my manager, Izuku says a little mournfully. I need to go talk to her. Oh, Katsuki looks crestfallen with the news. Yeah, you have those media appearances to destroy and cheat. Izuku raises the tablecloth to get out, but he stops and looks back to Kaken expectantly. Can I text you later to talk about the sponsors' rounds? Izuku asks hopefully. Katsuki's expression lights up, but he answers nonchalantly. Yeah. Whatever, he shrugs. Deku. Ochako sounds closer. Don't tell me you are under the table? Izuku scrambles out quickly. I'm here. Ochako sighs when she sees him coming out from under the table. Deku, how are you feeling? Do you want me to get you some tea? Izuku shakes his head and hands. No. Don't worry. I'm much better. I can talk to the sponsors. Ochako frowns at his statement, clearly doubtful. She looks like she's getting ready to inquire more about his sudden willingness to talk to the media, but then Katsuki comes out from under the table and she looks seriously at him as if she's analyzing the boy. Were you two together under the table? She asks, ping an eyebrow. Yeah, this is Kaken. He helped me out with preparations for the media appearances. Izuku says awkwardly. Ochako and Katsuki are staring at each other in a very intense manner that has Izuku's anxiety hiking up. Kaken? I think I've seen you before. Ochako says warily. You must be mistaking me with somebody else. Katsuki hisses between his teeth. Really? I don't think so. Ochako hisses back. Let's go, Deku. We have places to be. The woman grabs Izuku by the hand and starts dragging him away from Katsuki quickly. Izuku looks back and waves to the boy. Katsuki waves back with a small smile on his face. Bye, Kaken. Bye, Deku. Laptop computer video game. Ochako drags him quickly through a maze of backstage corridors that Izuku can't even begin to comprehend. She looks very distressed and hasn't looked back to Izuku even once since they left the room. Ochako, it's starting to hurt, Izuku whines, pulling on his wrist. The girl jumps, startled, finally realizing what she was doing. Oh, I'm so sorry, Izuku. She pets his wrist and talks again more calmly. I'm sorry, I got too caught up in my head. How are you? Really? I'm fine, I really am. Kaken did a lot to calm me down and help me prepare for the sponsors. He stayed there with me the whole time. Izuku hopes that explaining that Kaken meant no harm may mitigate Ochako's uncertainty about the boy. We created a plan about how I'm going to handle the appearances. I need your help to put it to work. Ochako looks unsure for a while, probably doubtful about how good their plan actually is. But Izuku knows she can't say no to him, and this time it isn't any different. What do you need me to do? Laptop computer video game. Izuku can't believe it. He honestly can't believe it. It worked. Kaken's plan worked. It went great. Well, sure, he stuttered a lot on the first sponsor, and Ochako had to raise cards with bullet points behind the camera for the other two. But what matters is that it worked. Ochako praised him so much. On the van back home, every other player of the house complimented him as well, and Minoma didn't talk to him at all, which is the biggest reward in Izuku's opinion. When the van dropped them back at the gaming house, Izuku bolted to his room under Ochako's complains that he should stick around for dinner. He knows he needs to eat, but he can grab something later. Right now he wants to text Kaken. In his room, Izuku lays belly down on his bed and pulls his phone. What should he say? Should he start with saying how their plan worked? That sounds too self-centered, right? Maybe he can ask if Kaken got home all right? From the area code in Katsuki's phone number, he lives in the same city as Izuku. Izuku, Deku hi, Kaken. Karakara. Izuku, Deku, did you get home all right? Omega, comma. Izuku sends the message and keeps looking at his phone anxiously. What if Kaken hasn't arrived home yet? Maybe he went out with his friends or something like that. Maybe he won't even see the texts until tomorrow. There is no point in looking at the screen. Izuku already took so much of Katsuki's time, he can't be greedy and… Katsuki, Kaken, is writing. Katsuki, Kaken hey, third. Katsuki, Kaken just got back, and you? Izuku rolls around in his bed giggling. Kaken answered. He still wants to talk to Izuku. Izuku, Deku just got home too. Izuku, Deku, I have to thank you. The sponsors thing went great. It was the easiest interview I've ever done. Izuku, Deku, and it's all thanks to you. Izuku, Katsuki, Kaken, that's great. Third. I'm available anytime you want to trade ideas about how to wreck those fuckers again. Katsuki, Kaken, if you want me to kick their butts, I'm up for that too. Izuku hugs the phone against his chest, overwhelmed with happiness. He had never met someone like Kaken before. He's so funny and smart. Kaken talks in an aggressive manner, but he's very caring and gentle with Izuku. Never before Izuku felt so comfortable around someone so fast. Izuku! There's a knock on his door and Ochako's voice calls him. Can I come in? Yeah. Sure. He answers, sitting properly on his bed. Ochako enters, carrying a tray with a sandwich, some pieces of apple and orange juice. I brought you dinner. I know you'd forget to get food later. The girl says, putting the tray down on his desk. Izuku chuckles and scratches the back of his head. Yeah, I guess that was a possibility. Ochako sits down on his bed with him. I'm glad to see you so happy. I was worried about how you were going to be after the first interview. The girl says carefully, probably hoping she won't make Izuku remember why he was freaking out so badly he had to hide under a table. However, now all he can feel is excitement when he thinks about the hours talking to Kaken. I know, but Kaken really calmed me and cheered me up. Izuku says with a small smile on his face. And his plan worked. It was brilliant, right? Even Ida said he'll be copying that technique in future interviews. You two really hit it off, Yes. Now we're texting. I sent him a message and Kaken responded right away. Izuku, what do you know about this? Kaken? Ochako asks warily. Izuku frowns. What do you mean? I mean, we just met. We are still getting to know each other better. Yeah, but do you know what he works with? Why he was in that room with you? Izuku's anxiety starts acting up and he begins fidgeting with the hem of his hoodie. We didn't dash. I mean, there was so much to talk about. And Kaken was helping me with the media thing, and I didn't want to be rude or anything. It also slipped my mind. I suppose he must work with games since he was there and he knows so much, but I didn't really ask and maybe I shouldn't have assumed and dash. Izuku, Ochako pets his arm to stop the nervous muttering. I'm sorry I got you stressed about it. You're right, he did help you a lot and you two just met. He spent hours saying funny things and making jokes at the presenter to make me feel better. Izuku mumbles under his breath. That was pretty nice of him, Ochako says with a kind smile. I know who he is. He's a streamer and he's known for. Let's say he has a temper. I'm probably being overprotective, but I'd rather you knew about his online reputation before you got overly invested in this new friendship. Oh. Streamer. That makes sense. Kaken is very charming and expressive, and he knows how to talk to the media. He must be very famous if even Ochako has heard of him. Should I dash? Should I watch his stream? Izuku asks unsure. If you feel like it, Ochako says very warily. His nickname is King Explosion Murder, or Ki. You can find a lot about him in Reddit and YouTube. Ochako takes Izuku's hand and looks at him with a sad expression. If you don't feel like talking to him anymore after what you see, you don't need to worry, alright? Leave it to me that I can make this all go away. You just say the word. The girl gets up after petting Izuku's hair and leaves him alone with his thoughts. Kaken hasn't introduced himself as King Explosion Murder. It's a convention in the gaming community to introduce yourself as your official alias when meeting new people. However, it's not a law, and Kaken did give Izuku his first name, Katsuki, and his phone number, so it can't be said that the boy was trying to hide. Isn't it intrusive to Google King Explosion Murder if Kaken hasn't given that name to Izuku? But at the same time, Kaken apparently is famous. He should know that someone might say something to Izuku soon enough. Maybe Kaken really wanted to be connected with the name Kaken, maybe he was hoping Izuku would recognize it. But that sounds even more far-fetched. Why would a famous streamer have a secondary account just to defend Deku, of all people? It makes absolutely no sense. Katsuki can't be the Kaken who is Deku's fan. And yet, Kaken knew so much about StarCraft and Deku's career. They had so much to talk about this afternoon. Sure, Kaken is very smart, but he had to have some previous knowledge of Deku's strategies to have the kind of conversation they had under the table. And since Kaken knows so much about Izuku's online persona, it's only fair that Izuku knows just as much, right? So there's nothing wrong in finding out more about King Explosion Murder. Ochako must be blowing things out of proportion. Izuku can't imagine Kaken doing anything on stream that would bother him. Izuku has already noticed Kaken has a potty mouth. People are probably just being overly sensitive. Izuku gets up from his bed and sits down on his desk to open his personal notebook. He grabs a slice of apple Ochako brought and opens YouTube to type King Explosion Murder. Always a proactive UI, YouTube gives him a few usually searched for options: King Explosion Murder, Best Rages, King Explosion Breaking Sheet Up, KM Plane Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. There are hundreds of videos with montages of King Explosion Murder's stream. Izuku is in for a long night. This is not a drill. He repeats, this is not a drill. Bakogu Katsuki just met Deku. Actually, better yet, Bakogu Katsuki just met Izuku. Katsuki can't get a hold of himself. As soon as the round-faced manager dragged Deku out of the room, he began dancing and jumping around. He met Deku. They talked. They exchanged phone numbers. He gave Katsuki his real name. It must be a dream. Bakuga must have been killed by the mob of Kane Kawaii nerds back at the food court, and now this is his brain CNCPTN of heaven. Yeah, that makes much more sense than the fact he just spent hours talking with his crush, and the boy is even more perfect in real life than he's on the stream. Izuku is awkward, he mumbles, he stutters and blushes, he gets too caught up in his own head. Katsuki knows these things shouldn't be endearing, that they should drive him crazy, but he was enthralled the whole afternoon. God knows how much bullshit his mouth spouted, because the first time Deku giggled at one of his dumb jokes he knew he needed to make that happen again. So he just continued making up jokes, trying to make Deku laugh and make him forget about all the shit people were talking about him online. Because let Katsuki make something clear, people online are absolute fucktards, shitty morons who can't tell their mouths from their arses. They have absolutely no right to talk about Deku, no right at all. Izuku is FING brilliant. The little nerd's IQ is probably higher than the combined score of every one of those asshats on Reddit. The level of complexity of the sheet they talked about today left Katsuki's head spinning, and Izuku mumbled through that sheet as if he was thinking about his grocery shopping list. Bakugo thought he understood how Deku created his strategies before. Now he knows he has absolutely no FING clue. Deku goes through at least 5 times more information in his head in order to pick a strategy than Katsuki does reverse engineering the thought process. It was exhilarating. Bakugo's brain had to work in overdrive to keep up with Deku. And that was even harder than it should have been because his brain didn't want to think about numbers and strategies, it wanted to focus on counting every single one of Izuku's freckles. He's so freaking beautiful, the shitty stream cameras don't make him any justice. Katsuki plops down on the couch of the empty room, dreamily looking at the ceiling. Today was the best day of his entire life. He has a whole new appreciation for tables now. He'd have happily stayed there the whole night just replaying every single one of Deku's expressions in his head, but one of the event's bodyguards showed up and escorted him, by the collar, towards Kirishima's car. The whole band of idiots was already there waiting for him and carrying disturbing amounts of bags full of merch. Any other day Katsuki might have yelled at the fuckers for spending money on bullshit when they're all broke. But today not even depressing bank statements will get his mood down. He just waves goodbye to the helpful security worker under the bewildered looks of his friends. "Bro, we were so worried. We've heard about the food court thing," Kirishima exclaims. "I'm alright, it was no big deal," Katsuki says, climbing on the passenger seat. Zero PPS and eyebrow skeptically as he and the others enter the car as well. You don't look alright, dude. What happened?" Kirishima asks worriedly. "Explodey, are you high?" Mina leans towards the front seat to sniff him. "No, I'm not," Katsuki answers calmly while looking through the window and thinking that the green trees remind him of Izuku's eyes. "Kim, you're really freaking us out right now," Kaminari says warily. "Did you knock your head or something?" "I just had the best day of my life. All my dreams came true and not even your stupidity will screw up my peace, Pikachu." Katsuki says sedately, still looking out of the window, so he misses the looks of complete astonishment on his friends' faces. "Oh my god, you met Deku!" Mina exclaims. "No way! It can't be! Can it?" Kirishima almost runs over a garbage can as he looks confused from Bakugo to Mina several times. Zero and Kaminari decide to yell too, both at the same time. "I can't believe it, dude! Did your stalking really pay off?" Zero says bewildered. "Explodo! You did, didn't you? You met your crush. Have you kissed him? Did backstage shenanigans happen?" Kaminari wiggles his eyebrows, and that finally snaps Katsuki out of his trance. The blonde suddenly turns his body towards the back seat and tries to strangle the idiot. "Baku, no! Bro! Sit back down. We're gonna get a ticket. I'm going to kill you, stupid Pikachu." Takes a lot of slapping and screaming from everyone inside the car until Katsuki sits back facing forward and Kaminari promises to not open his mouth until they are out of the moving vehicle. Okay, everybody is cool now?" Kirishima asks and hears affirmatives coming from the back seat. "Baku bro." Katsuki grunts too. "Great, now can you tell us how did you meet Deku?" Katsuki huffs. He doesn't want to say anything about Izuku to these fuckers. He wants to keep every little thing he learned about the boy to himself. It's probably stupid, possessive bullshit, but those hours under the table seem too precious for Bakugo to share with anyone. "We met backstage. That security guy took me away from the pervy mob on the food court to a lounge area. Deku was there." Katsuki says begrudgingly. "And did you talk to him or did you just look at him creepily from across the room?" Zero teases. "Who the f is creepy tape face? I talked to him, alright? We talked a whole effing lot. He even gave me his number." "Way to go, bro." Kirishima pats his back, encouraging an avalanche of congratulations from everyone. Katsuki tries to keep his usual frown in place to not encourage anyone else to touch him, but his mouth insisted on forming a small smile. After that, the four idiots' conversations strayed into the most memorable moments of the event for them. Apparently, Kaminari staged a break-in into a developers meeting to leak hot new information about their unreleased game. In reality, he was paid by the developers to try to hype up their boring game. Mina spent hours in a photo shoot with some other gamer girls and cosplayers. She had tons of fun and was very excited to talk about her new friends. Zero was already trying to get the contact of one of the girls, but Mina was making a huge list of demands that went from picking up her cleaning duty on the house to letting her pre-approve any message he wants to send the girl. Kirishima spent most of the event playing with Tetsu in several different games that had booths there in which players could try unreleased content and even complete new unreleased games. Apparently they tied in every single one of the games they played, even in a game where it's supposedly impossible to tie. The developer kicked them out of his booth for breaking the game. Bakugo only heard everything with a sliver of attention. He's too busy checking out Deku's interviews that are popping online. He can't help but smile and giggle to himself when he notices Izuku went with the strategy they created, and the online response seems to be way more positive this time. Deku still stuttered heavily in the first attempt, and during the second and third he was clearly reading from prompt cards. But he was reading the texts he created with Katsuki. Bakugo's heart feels to be too big to fit in his chest while he watches it. It's a confirmation that this afternoon really happened. He didn't hallucinate the whole thing. When they got home, Katsuki went to his room and plopped down on his bed looking at the ceiling. He wants to talk to Izuku again. He doesn't know how he can miss someone he just met, but he does. He wants to talk with and spend more time with Deku. Bakugo picks up his phone and thinks about texting the nerd, but his thumb hovers over the messaging app uncertain. What if Deku doesn't want to talk to him anymore? That woman who came to take him away, probably a manager or something like that, seemed to know who Katsuki really is. She may have told Izuku about Katsuki's online persona. If Deku saw King Explosion Murders videos on YouTube, no way he'll want to talk to Bakugo anymore. Izuku is too kind and too gentle to be around Kate. Katsuki's heart aches at the thought he'll never have the chance of talking to Deku again. However, before Bakugo has the chance to throw his phone away and curse his whole existence, the messaging app goes ping. Izuku, Deku hi, Kaken. Karakara. Izuku, Deku did you get home alright? Omega, comma. It's Deku. Deku still wants to talk to Katsuki. What should he say? He can't screw this up. Should he praise Deku for the interviews? But maybe that'd sound self-congratulatory since he helped write the texts, and maybe a bit stalkerish that he already hunted them all down online. He should probably just answer the question. Yeah, that's probably better. Katsuki, Kaken hey, third. Katsuki, Kaken just got back, and you? He should have sent Kamijis too. But that's not really his thing. Deku is the cute one. No wonder he even texts adorably. Izuku, Deku just got home too. Izuku, Deku I have to thank you. The sponsors thing went great. It was the easiest interview I've ever done. Izuku, Deku and it's all thanks to you. Bakugo has to take a moment to close his eyes and get his heart under control. He's shaking with excitement and giddiness right now. Deku is happy. He helped Deku be happy. And Deku is thanking him. Katsuki isn't just a knucklehead rage streamer, he can help people too. Maybe he can even help Izuku again. Katsuki, Kaken that's great, third. I'm available anytime you want to trade ideas about how to wreck those fuckers again. Katsuki, Kaken if you want me to kick their butts, I'm up for that too. That night, Katsuki goes to sleep with a smile on his face and feeling more content about himself than he has in a long time. Laptop computer video game. Bakugo hoped and prayed that Izuku would actually take him up on his offer to help him out with his media appearances. But not even in his wildest dreams he thought he'd wake up with a message from the boy. Izuku, Deku hi Kaken. Omega. Izuku, Deku I was thinking if we could schedule to meet up. Izuku, Deku just for you to help me W media stuff. Izuku, Deku nothing weird. Izuku, Deku and only if you're available. Izuku, Deku I don't want to take more of your time. Izuku, Deku but since you offered I thought it was okay to ask. Izuku if it isn't just ignore me and it'll not bother you again. Izuku Omega. Katsuki has to rub his eyes so he can read the messages. The light of the phone burns his retina and he finishes reading the messages with tears prickling from the corners of his eyes. But it's so worth it. It made waking up at 6 in the morning way less shitty than it usually was. Wait, what time did Deku send these messages? He checks and sees they arrived at 5. So Deku is an early riser as well? Katsuki thought he was the only gamer who woke up before 11. Yeah, whatever, brain. Catch thief. Deku sent a message asking to meet up again. Who cares what time he texted? Katsuki, Kaken good morning, sir. Katsuki, Kaken I have time to meet up. Katsuki, Kaken wouldn't have offered if I didn't. Katsuki, Kaken just tell me when and where. Was this too eager? Is he coming out like he's desperate? But he knows how Izuku overthinks shit. If Katsuki isn't clear the boy may pull back. Izuku, Deku that's great, Kaken. Karakara. Izuku, Deku I'm going to see things with my manager and I'll send you the infos as soon as I can. Izuku do, Omega comma. The rest of the day, Katsuki was in a very weird mood. It came and went in waves. 1 second he was giggling at himself, The next he was even more murderous than usual. His stream was a complete mess. He was raging in games he actually liked because of the stress. He also checked his phone every 5 seconds to the point that his friends got worried. Motherfucking useless goose. Can't you catch the goddamn keys? Just use your stupid beak and dash. Okay, that's it, Explodey. Mina shows up by his side with her hands on her hips. We're going out for a walk. If you stay cooped up here any longer, I'm afraid you'll actually lose your mind. I'm fine, Beach. He grumbles without taking his eyes off his screen. Get off my cam because the chat is going full horny and that's f***ing disgusting. Mina rolls her eyes, leans over Katsuki's desk giving the cam a full view of her cleavage. I'm sorry guys. Gotta steal came for a while. Catch his stream tomorrow, I may show up again, she says winking and turning the stream off. What the Beach? Katsuki yells pulling his headphones off. Who gave you the right to turn off my stream? The friendship power, a-hole. Mina answers crossing her arms. You're off your game and need a timeout. Let's go grab something to eat with the boys, they're waiting on the porch. Bakugo is still pent up and stressed out, but he follows the girl anyway. She's probably right and that makes the situation even worse. He's terrified that Deku will text him saying he's forbidden of talking to Katsuki again and that he'll have to block his number. That round-faced woman, Katsuki dug around and found out she actually is the manager of UA's gaming house. She knows who Bakugo is. She may not allow King Explosion Murder anywhere near one of her players. Katsuki knows Deku's brand could suffer if word comes out that they're friends. Wait, are they friends? Can he actually call Deku a friend? Yes, he can. Deku said so himself. They exchanged numbers, they texted, they talked a lot at the convention. Katsuki can't help the smile that comes to him inadvertently when he thinks about these things. Katsuki follows the idiots who call themselves his friends all the way to their usual taco truck. It's the only place in town that sells tacos with the amount of heat Bakugo expects them to have. When they all have their food with them, they sit down on the curb of the parking lot the food truck stays at to eat. So, Baku, what's your move? Kaminari asks with his mouth full, pieces of tortilla falling on his t-shirt. My what? Katsuki raises an eyebrow almost challenging the stupid Pikachu to speak again. Your move. To get Deku. The idiotic blonde says, gesticulating wildly. There's no FNG move, a-hole. We're friends and I don't know if he swings my way, Bakugo explains, rolling his eyes. Mina snorts. Please, Explodey, have you seen the kid? That boy is into D-, I can tell. And you say that with all the wisdom you took out of your butt? Bakugo retorts. It's called female intuition. I just know, alright? You should go for it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. No other stalker in this country ever got this close without getting a restraining order out of it. Do you want to die, Beach? Hey there now, let's keep it kosher, shall we? Kirishima stops their fight. Mina may have expressed herself in a bad way, but she's right, bro. This is your chance. You can swipe him off his feet. Show your K-Day with Jungle Lulu, I'm sure that's gonna impress him. Yeah, nothing more impressive than Explodey's KSing skills, Siro teases chuckling. It ain't FING KSing if I play better, idiot. Not my demon fault you only have 2 barely working fingers. Or maybe show him your Skyrim hours. There's no way he ain't gonna be blown away by that. Kirishima tries again. Yeah, he'll undoubtedly wonder if Bakugo has even seen the light of day, Kaminari provokes. Hey, Deku is a gamer too. I'm sure he puts in just as many hours as Explodey, Mina defends him. And it'd be cute the two of you playing together. I don't know, maybe doing some raids in WoW. Katsuki doesn't bother replying to them anymore. He knows his friends want to help, but to think about he and Izuku playing together as a couple does awful things to Katsuki's heart and he doesn't want to throw up his taco. Not only that, the idiots are completely missing the mark. If he and Deku ever became a couple, Bakugo doesn't imagine them playing highly competitive games to destroy the noobs as a duo though they'd own at it. No, Katsuki imagines them cuddling together with a Switch, exploring Hyrule, humming the songs, making fun of the weird NPCs, stealing kisses from each other. On their way back to the house, the idiots had already changed the subject and were discussing in depth the new drama in The YouTube beauty community. Katsuki swears he heard Pinky quoting Nietzsche to make her point of why the Coachella tickets were immoral, to what Kaminari answered with a series of Post Malone lyrics. Bakugo got pretty close to throwing them into the speeding traffic. What saved his friends' lives was literally the bell. Katsuki's phone pinged right at the moment he was internally debating if life in prison was worth it. When Bakugo saw the name Izuku on the screen, his heart skipped a beat. Izuku, Deku hi, Kaken. Karakara. Izuku, Deku, would you mind coming to the UA gaming house? Izuku, Deku, we can have privacy to talk about the media stuff, Omega. Laptop computer video game. If Katsuki was a pile of nerves before setting up his date business meeting encounter with Izuku, there are no words to describe how he is afterwards. There's no point in even attempting to stream, his focus is wrecked. He can't play a DMN thing because he can't pay attention to the screen long enough for the pixels to make sense. So he settles for the only two activities that set his mind in some kind of peace: cleaning the house and working out. This makes the house spotless, his roommates crazy, and Katsuki stinky, but none of that matters because he has a date and encounter with Deku. Hey, I was drinking that. Shiro complains as Katsuki snatches the mug of hot cocoa from his hands and takes it to the sink. You're always leaving mugs and cups everywhere. I can't even trust you with this sheet. I don't want to live in a pigsty. Bakugo barks, already washing the mug. Shiro looks like he'll retort, but Kaminari touches his arms and shakes his head. Leave him. Tomorrow is his date, he should be back to normal after that. It's not a date. Katsuki yells from the sink with suds up to his elbows. The two boys make a swift retreat after that. They don't want Bakugo to wash the kitchen floor with their faces. The day of the date, Bakugo woke up, took a shower, had breakfast, took another shower because he didn't know if he had put conditioner in his hair, raided his closet searching for anything to wear, decided he had to burn down all his clothes, took another shower because now he was smelling like his wardrobe, yelled at Kirishima, raided Mina's closet and raged about the fact she has a closet in their house, decided that maybe cross-dressing would be too much for a first date encounter, cried in a corner because he knew Deku is too nice and pure and would never care if Bakugo actually showed up in a miniskirt, kicked Kaminari's butt, picked some clothes from his own closet and got ready to meet Izuku. Mina had to help him make sense of his clothes, but, in the end, Katsuki is wearing some dark gray jeans, a long-sleeved orange shirt with a hood and a StarCraft 2 black t-shirt on top of it. He pulled the long sleeves up to his elbows, accessorized with some gaming bracelets, and he was ready. When he got to the UA gaming house, he couldn't help but gawk at it. It's a freaking mansion. He knew the house was big from the snippets he's seen on Deku's and other players' streams, but he wasn't expecting all that. The neighborhood itself is extravagant. Bakugo had to show his ID to get in the street of the gaming house. It's one of those gated communities for the extra-rich fuckers. It makes sense. They probably don't want the address of the gaming house leaking to the public and hundreds of fans showing up on their lawn. And what a lawn it is, perfectly cut green grass, trimmed bushes, some flowers, absolutely nothing that indicates that inside the huge white traditional architecture mansion live about 15 pro gamers. Katsuki rings the doorbell and kicks some tiny pebbles around as he waits for someone to open for him. He's expecting Deku to show up because Bakugo sent him a text as soon as he got off the train saying he was close, but the one who comes out of the door is the manager and she doesn't look very happy to see Bakugo. So you're here, she says, standing in front of the closed gate without moving to open it. What tipped you off? Katsuki grunts. I have some things to make clear with you, Mr. Explosion murder? That'd be king for you, Katsuki says, menacingly showing his teeth. But he pulls back quickly because the desire to see Deku is bigger than the need to put the speech in her place. Or Bakugo. You can call me Bakugo. Very well, Mr. Bakugo. If you enter this house, you'll be expected to sign a non-disclosure agreement about anything you see and hear inside it. You're not allowed to share this address, you can't use the computers, and you can't take pictures. Do you understand? Yeah, I heard you. Just give me the DMN papers, Katsuki says, shoving his hands in his pockets. The manager huffs, but finally opens the gate. Follow me. Katsuki is taken to a very small room just by the entrance that looks like it must be the manager's office. She has several pictures of the gamers who live there framed on her walls, and Bakugo notices that Deku's frame is actually shaped like a heart. So the beach has a favorite, and he's the same one as Katsuki's. Without even attempting to read the papers, Bakugo signs them on the bottom line as soon as he can and looks at her expectantly. Now can I see Deku? The manager takes a deep breath and looks up to Bakugo from her desk. Izuku isn't like most pro gamers. He isn't used to Twitch drama, rage quits, and the works. I appreciate how you helped him during PAX, but if you want to keep this connection with him, I need to ask you to keep in mind that he isn't like your other gamer friends. You think I don't know that? Katsuki snarls at her. I've known Deku was special before I even met him, round face. He isn't like the other idiotic pro gamers, he's a FING genius and you can be sure I ain't gonna F this sheet up. They stare at each other for a moment before the girl says, he's in his gaming room. It's the last door on the right, down that hall. She points to the way and Katsuki leaves towards the place in seconds. He barely registers the rest of the house. Bakugo knows he crossed a huge living room that has at least 3 big butt TVs, some PCs set up for team games, a few couches and armchairs, but he doesn't even look at the other doors in the hallway. He goes straight to the last one that should be Deku's and knocks before he loses his courage. It's like entering a sanctuary. The room is small but filled to the brim with everything Deku, posters, pictures, trophies, game miniatures, merch of all kinds. And in the middle of it, Izuku wearing a Fire Emblem t-shirt that did things to Katsuki's heart. Did he play the Byleth and Linhardt story? Did he like it? Does Katsuki even stand a chance? So, what do you think? The green-eyed boy asks nervously, making Katsuki remember he's been checking the gaming room out for a solid 10 minutes. What do I think? The blonde shakes his head, chuckling, this place is a whole effing temple of nerd shit. Katsuki reaches for a Zerg plushie amazed, you're really decked out, Freckles? Izuku laughs awkwardly and scratches the back of his head, yeah, I suppose I have too much, right? The developers always give us things after the tournaments, and my friends and family know better than to give me anything that isn't video game related. I think it's freaking cool as shit, Katsuki says earnestly. It's your DM life and you own it. Gotta respect someone so dedicated to the cause. Izuku plops down on his chair, a big and comfortable gaming chair with the logo of Hatsum May Designs, the freelance gaming gear designer that works with UA, still with a small smile on his lips. I wouldn't call it a cause, but it's my whole life. Games are all I have and StarCraft 2 is all I know. Katsuki sits down on a similar chair next to Izuku. Well, I'm gonna have to call bullshit on that. You're a FING beast, I'm sure you'd destroy any game lucky enough to catch your eye. Izuku shakes his head. No, I don't think so. StarCraft 2 it is for me. Other games I play casually, but I'd never be able to compete in them. Bakugo rolls his eyes at the boy's attempt at downplaying himself. That's a effing lie if I ever heard one. You're brilliant, you can play whatever you want. Izuku relaxes on his big chair before replying to Katsuki. It's not so easy. SC2 has several mechanical demands that I can reach just because I've been playing the game for so damn long. Other games would take me just as long to get to an average competing level. And there's the whole sponsors thing. I can't play a game that people aren't interested in watching. Katsuki nods understandingly. He knows Izuku would kick butt in whatever game he chose, but StarCraft 2 is the only proper strategy game that has a big enough following to warrant sponsorships. The other big games of the moment aren't so thought-demanding and Deku's true abilities would be wasted on. Well, DMN sponsors no shit about gaming, but they have the money. How can I help you make them your beaches? Katsuki asks, smirking to the boy. Izuku laughs openly and blushes. Kaken, I'm not going to make any of them my... Izuku bites his lips before continuing quietly. Beaches? Oh FING shit. That's too much. Izuku is too freaking adorable trying to swear, and that's how Katsuki dies. Death by overwhelming cuteness. His subscribers are going to riot. Actually, I was hoping you could help me with something else. Izuku says a little unsure and then starts rambling. If you can't, that's totally fine. I know you must be so busy, and I'm asking for a lot. It's not that important, anyway. I mean, I should be able to do it myself, everybody does. But sometimes it's hard and dash. Deku, spill it. What do you need? Katsuki interrupts him because he can see the boy is getting worked up with anxiety and he can't have that when Izuku is next to Katsuki. I want to stream, Izuku says with uncertainty. Oh, Katsuki says taken aback. What dash? What do you mean? You know, a proper stream. Talk to the viewers, offer something less boring to the subscribers. Not just stand quietly in my chair, ignoring everyone who is talking to me. Izuku says, shrugging awkwardly. Bakogu ponders for a second. On one hand, he thinks Izuku's streams are perfect how they are. They have Izuku in them and that's enough to make them perfect. Also, it's going to be way harder to hide his job as a streamer if he has to teach Izuku how to stream, he'll quickly blow his cover. However, on the other hand, Izuku just asked for his help and Katsuki would be demed if he doesn't come through for the boy. Sure, whatever you want, Bakogu says, meaning every implication of that phrase. Izuku beams a bright smile at him. Thanks, Kaken. If Izuku thought it was hard to stream just knowing hundreds of people were watching him through their computers, he now knows it doesn't compare to what playing with a cute boy by his side is like. Kaken is so close, he's watching every single one of Izuku's movements. They decided it'd be better for Katsuki to watch Izuku streaming before giving him pointers on how to improve. But Izuku wasn't expecting the blonde gamer to watch him so closely. It's unnerving and Izuku has been screwing up his plays so badly he hasn't used his resources so inefficiently since he was dared to play with just one hand by the big three. The room is silent save the clicking of the keyboard and the gentle sound of his computer. Izuku has to control his breathing because any hitching sound will certainly be heard by Kaken. This has Izuku's anxiety hiking up, and yet it's very different than the kind of stress he feels in front of crowds. When he's in front of crowds, he gets scared of people judging him, yelling at him, thinking he's stupid. He doesn't fear any of that with Kaken. The other boy did everything in his power to make Izuku comfortable. Anxiety now is connected with how aware of Katsuki he is. And to make matters worse, Kaken is so handsome. He's dressed with such style that Izuku wouldn't doubt if the blonde said he just came from a photo shoot. Kaken's orange undershirt is pushed up to his elbows showing his strong forearms and that's doing things to Izuku's heart. Izuku streamed for 30 minutes. It was just a little sample for Katsuki to know what he'd be working with. Kaken seemed excited when Izuku offered to do it, so the blonde probably doesn't have any idea how to actually help such a big mess as Deku is. The 30 minutes drag by and, since Kaken is still watching him, he can't even sigh in relief once it's over. Alright. Kaken's voice pulls Izuku out of his forearm-filled daydreams. You usually don't say anything at all except the play style you're going with that day, right? Yeah, Izuku agrees, at the beginning of the stream. And from what I read on the chat, your viewers were trying to understand what you were doing and why. But they're all complete morons and probably got confused in the login screen. Bakogu says matter-of-factly. Kaken. Izuku protests but chuckles. Maybe the best way to start talking is to begin explaining what you're doing. On a very superficial level, those fuckers won't keep up if you do anything deeper than a teaspoon kind of analysis. Katsuki says and finally turns his eyes from the screen towards Izuku. Sure, you'll have to use more basic build orders and playstyles to make it more noob-friendly, but if the objective is just to talk in the stream, I think it's a good start. But how would I know when to talk? Izuku asks confused. Katsuki thinks deeply for a couple of seconds before answering. What do you think I start coming here every 3 days or something like that? That way you can stream while I'm here and I can give you the questions I believe an idiot would have while watching your stream. Izuku smiles brightly at the other boy again. Would you do that? He asks amazed. That'd be so great, Kaken. It'd be awesome to have help in doing the streams. The other boy looks away and shrugs. Sure, I can do that. We can set up your cam so I don't appear on it and I can slip you paper notes with questions from time to time of what you can say to them. Izuku can't believe how lucky he is, having such an incredible streamer as King Explosion Murder helping him. Kaken is truly amazing. He jumps from game to game as if it's nothing, mastering everything in a couple of hours. Not only that, he has such a presence in front of the camera. He commands the crowd, he entertains, he's funny and open. No wonder he has throngs of followers watching him every day. Once Izuku started watching Cam's videos, he couldn't stop either. Kaken is enchanting during a stream. He knew he was asking too much of Kaken, but the blonde was so nice and welcoming that Izuku thought it was worth a shot. Kaken truly is amazing. Izuku is the luckiest guy for having met him. However, it's going to be hard to not let Kaken know Izuku found out he's King Explosion Murder. He doesn't know why the boy hasn't told him that, but it seems like a breach of his privacy that Izuku discovered and researched about his online persona without his permission. Midoriya prefers not getting into that if he can avoid it. Katsuki Esakis. He's a FING stalker and he's taking advantage of Izuku's naivety to steal moments with the boy. He feels like an a-hole, and yet he can't force himself to stop being close to Deku, so often makes his heart fuller than ever before. Every 3 days he takes a few hours off his afternoon and goes to the UA gaming house to watch Deku stream. During the 2 hours the pro gamer stays in front of the camera, Katsuki is allowed to watch him attentively without coming off as a creep. It's everything he has ever wanted. The first time Izuku offered to stream for him, Katsuki almost choked on his own spit. It seemed to be such an ending thing to do with Deku, just the two of them alone in that small room, that Bakugo felt hot and bothered about it. Doing it frequently didn't make the magic go away, though. It may even have increased it because, on the first day, Izuku was clearly freaked out and stressed. But with every single time Katsuki came over, the boy got more comfortable, more like himself. And Katsuki can state that because now he knows how Izuku is when he's relaxed. After the stream is off, they always talk a little, watch new game trailers on YouTube and overall have a fun time together. Izuku's laughter comes easy in these moments, and he perks up with his feet on his chair like a puppy. It takes every ounce of Katsuki's restraint to not reach over and pull the boy for a kiss. The crush he had before evolved and now Bakugo is full-blown in love with Izuku. Sure, Deku is very crush-worthy, but Izuku is a love of your life kind of deal. Katsuki almost feels like they are dating, but dating with a glass wall between them. He can tease, joke around, talk, have fun together, however, he can't push past the wall. He can't lean in for a kiss, he can't pull Izuku for a hug. It's maddening, it breaks Bakugo's heart, but the idea of losing that closeness is even worse. It's a bittersweet feeling when he notices how much Izuku is improving on his streams. During the first couple of times, every new paper with a question that Bakugo slipped to him made the boy jump startled. It took him a few minutes of freaking out before he could open his mouth and stutter an answer. Teach this mom app has an unusual ramp, UCA can't use a standard WWall. The poor thing was so freaked out. He trembled in fear. Katsuki could see him fighting to control his hands over the mouse and keyboard. Bakugo wanted to get up his chair and cuddle Deku on his chest, but that would probably freak the boy out even more. That's why, once the stream was over, Katsuki quickly changed the subject, asking if Izuku had seen the new Monster Hunter trailer. What started with a desperate attempt to get Izuku's mind off the stress of streaming became their little routine of talking about random games after every day working together. And every new streaming day, Izuku got better. The stutter subsided, he became more sure about giving his little advices, and the stress of streaming dwindled significantly. Be so sure to attack at the right TI timing. If your upgrades aren't up yet, you're gonna lose momentum. Bakugo's heart filled with pride watching him flourish in front of the camera. He helped Izuku do that. Katsuki was an important part in helping Izuku show to the world how brilliant he is. If the opponent is spamming high Templars, make sure you have enough ghosts to EMP. You don't want them to be able to use Psionic Storm on your units. Bonus that it also takes their shields off, so your ghosts will still be useful against their comp even if they make Archons. However, it also broke his heart. Izuku didn't really need Katsuki around anymore. He's got his stream under control for over a week now. He doesn't even need Bakugo's little paper slips to remind him to talk during the game. He probably never needed Katsuki there anyway. He hasn't done anything there that anyone else couldn't have done. Heck, Katsuki could have done it online by messaging the questions to Izuku. Katsuki was terrified of losing his connection to Izuku if he said to the boy that he's good enough to do it on his own, but he's also so excited to see the happiness in Izuku's eyes when discovering he reached his goal. In the end, he decides to not make this decision. UA has lots of people in their payroll just to take care of players and their image. The round-faced girl who gives Katsuki the stink eye every time he comes by hasn't said anything to Deku, so why should he? Bakugo will stop coming when Izuku doesn't want him around and not a day sooner. Izuku is feeling guilty. He's being a horrible person and getting away with it. It's been close to 3 months since Katsuki began coming to UA's gaming house 3 times a week to coach Izuku into doing a good stream. During all this time, not only has Izuku been taking advantage of Kaken, he's been lying to the other boy. He still hasn't told Katsuki that he knows he's King Explosion Murder. Even worse, Izuku is pretty sure Kaken is actually his Kaken. During the time he got to know Katsuki better, he also went back to look through the messages he sees from Kaken on Reddit and in the Discord server about Deku. Izuku is there with a pseudonym, but he doesn't usually enter anyway. After thorough analysis, he's pretty sure both Kakens are the same person and he hasn't brought that up with Katsuki yet. He doesn't know why Kaken is hiding these 2 facts from Izuku, but he knows the boy has this right. People have the right to their anonymity on the internet and Katsuki isn't doing anything bad with his. Izuku feels like a stalker for knowing so much about Kaken without the boy's knowledge. The other thing that's been making Izuku feel guilty is that he knows he doesn't actually need Kaken's company by his side on every stream. He could do it on his own, maybe with not as much quality but good enough for Deku. However, Izuku likes it. He loves having the company of the boy. Kaken is funny and expressive. He always says exactly what's on his mind in the most hilarious way possible, expletives and all. The first few times, it was unnerving to have the red eyes following his every move, but now Izuku loves knowing he has Kaken's attention on him. That's actually his secret to streaming. He pretends it's just Katsuki watching him and that makes Izuku be the best he can be during the stream. And their moments together after streaming are the happiest in Izuku's whole week. He'd put up with hours and hours of streaming on his own against the faceless online crowd if it meant he could have those 30 to 40 minutes of hanging out with Kaken and talking about games. Deku knows he should tell Kaken he doesn't have to bother with Izuku anymore, that he learned enough to continue on his own and that Katsuki shouldn't waste his time with him. But he doesn't. Izuku just smiles brightly and answers, "See you Thursday," when Katsuki says goodbye. He needs to make up for Kaken's lost time somehow. He's seen the complaints of Kaken's followers. They aren't happy that Kim cut down his weekly streaming time. And that's all Izuku's fault. Kaken is too nice and too kind to say no to a friend in need, and Izuku has been taking advantage of that. Ignoring the yelling voices in his head that say the right thing to do would be talking to Kaken and telling the blonde that Deku doesn't help anymore, Izuku decides to make up to his friend in a different way. He's going to take Kaken out for dinner. The next time they finish Izuku's stream and are chilling in the little gaming room, Izuku gathers every little bit of his courage to ask Katsuki out. "Hey, Kaken, what's your favorite kind of food?" Bakugo shrugs without getting his eyes off the computer, where he's looking for a stupid a-hole talking smack about Leon in a forum to show Izuku. "I like the regular stuff. Tacos, burgers, pizza. Though I don't usually eat those because it's shit for your health and it's important to keep good nutrition. So I just make sure to have my hot sauce around for everyday food." "Oh, alright," Izuku says impressed. Katsuki has strong opinions about nutrition. "And would you like to go out for dinner with me?" Kaken jumps startled and falls back off his chair, but straight to the floor. "Kaken!" Izuku exclaims worried, "Are you alright?" "Die shit. Dinner?" The blonde asks dumbfounded. "Yeah, you know," Izuku says awkwardly scratching the back of his head. "Is this weird?" "Just to say thank you properly for all the help. You've been working so hard to make sure my stream improves. I'd like to treat you for dinner to show my gratitude." Bakugo sits back on the chair and shakes his head. "You don't have to buy me shit for that. I offered to help and I'm not going back on my word." I really want to though, Kaken," Izuku says looking at Katsuki with pleading eyes. "Please." Kaken looks like he'll protest but gives up and sighs. "Whatever, if you want to. Just don't pick any FING expensive place. I'm fine with whatever." Izuku beams at him. "Alright, Kaken. How does tomorrow sound?" Bakugo smiles back at him. "Sounds great, Freckles. Just text me when and where." Bakugo Katsuki is FNG idiot. A goddamn masochistic idiot. He agreed to go on a date with the boy he loves. Except it isn't a date, it's a FING thank you dinner, and Katsuki's heart will tie itself in a knot during the whole time, yearning for something that is so close but, at the same time, miles away. But Izuku looked at him with those puppy dog eyes, and how could he say no? He even couldn't, that's how. So now Katsuki is getting ready for a date that isn't a date, to be thanked for all the dates that also weren't dates that they've been doing for months. When did his life become such a mess? Whatever, he's overthinking shit. It's not a date. He's grabbing dinner with a friend. He does that all the FING time. He probably eat more meals with the idiot squad than alone. It's going to be basically the same thing, just with the man he loves, and that's why Katsuki spent 2 hours picking what to wear. Again, Mina came to his rescue. He ended up settling for a white t-shirt, blue distressed jeans, leather jacket, combat boots, and a silver chain around his neck. No gaming merch today. No, today may be Katsuki's last chance to make Izuku think that, maybe, it would be nice if this dinner was a date. Even if it isn't, you know, a DMN date. Deku's message told Katsuki to meet him at a metro station at 8 p.m. Bakuga got there at 7:50 p.m. because he wasted too much time going through his clothes. Deku must have been held up too, because at 8:15 p.m. Katsuki was ready to explode the whole DMN station with his pent-up stress, but at seeing Deku running down the stairs of the station, every bad thought instantly leaves Bakuga's head. FING gorgeous is the first thing that comes to Katsuki's mind. Izuku cleaned up nicely for their not-date dinner. He's wearing a maroon skinny jeans that showcase his assets, a tight black t-shirt and a black, white and gray flannel shirt. In the back of Katsuki's head, a little voice tries to tell him Deku probably also had helped to dress too. No way Izuku would have put that together. For the last 2 months all Katsuki has seen him wear are cargo shorts and gaming t-shirts. Hey Kaken. I'm sorry I'm late. Izuku apologizes as he gets closer to Bakuga. It's fine, he shrugs, trying not to let it show that Izuku being so beautiful left him winded. Let's just go, I'm effing hungry. I hope you like the place I chose. I've never been there, but there were tons of good reviews online, Deku explains excitedly as they leave the station. Katsuki only grunts and accompanies him until they arrive at a burger place Izuku picked for their dinner. Deku explains it's supposed to be a high-end burger restaurant, with thick patties, lots of bacon and strong hot sauce. You said you don't usually eat burgers but you like them, so I thought it was a good option, Izuku says with an unsure smile. He's probably nervous, hoping he hasn't screwed up when choosing the place to eat. Joke is on him, though this is the most perfect place Katsuki could imagine for a date with Deku, and even if it wasn't, Katsuki would eat roadkill if it meant to call this a date. The place has a 50s American diner, decor, black and white floors, big booths for them to sit, a long counter where the servers were dishing out high burgers and big plates of fries. It even has a couple of pinball machines in the corner. They sit down in front of each other on a booth and ask for the biggest burgers the menu has to offer, alongside milkshakes, chocolate for Deku, strawberry for Katsuki, and French fries. Bakuga's nutrition plan is being completely ignored for this dinner, but that's alright because his brain can only think about Deku anyway. This is so good, the boy says between mouthfuls of his burger. He looks like a chipmunk with his cheeks full, and Bakuga can't help but chuckle. Slow down, Freckles. Don't FANG choke, Katsuki teases. I don't choke on food, Izuku complains. Just on interviews. Katsuki openly laughs at that. He loves Deku's sense of humor. The little sheik can be very clever and cheeky after he got comfortable around you. It's one of the things Katsuki only found out because he has spent so much time with Izuku in the last few months. Not anymore, you don't. Don't you FING dare go back to answering the interviewer's idiotic questions after games when the WCS start next month. Katsuki says after getting a hold of himself. I don't want to see all my FING hard work being for nothing. Izuku gives him a sad smile and answers, I wish you could do the interviews for me. You're so much better at this than I am, I'm sure the sponsors would prefer having you in the media. That falls like a huge block of ice in Katsuki's stomach. He's so FING shitty, he has been lying to Izuku for months, and now the boy thinks Bakuga is a better option for the sponsors than him. It makes no sense when the truth is that Katsuki doesn't have any shitty sponsor because he's King Explosion Murder, the laughing stock of the gaming community. Hey, no one is better at this game than you, Bakugo says, lightly poking Izuku's shin with his boot. And you certainly don't need me for this sheet. You'll destroy those interviews after winning every goddamn match. I'll be watching you raise that trophy in a few months, through the WCS final stream. You could come with me and watch it live. Izuku mumbles so quietly that Katsuki doubts what he heard. What? He asks, startled. Nothing. Izuku answers quickly. Don't even sweat about it. I was just mumbling nonsense like always. He looks nervous about Bakugo's reaction, so Katsuki decides to pretend he didn't hear anything. What would he do if he confronted Izuku anyway? That could only lead to Bakugo having to admit to the reason why no sponsor would ever want him in front of their cameras. So, Overwatch is coming to Switch. Do you think you'll get interested in playing it now? Katsuki diverts the conversation to a safer subject and is rewarded by Izuku's shoulders visibly relaxing as they start debating what adaptations the game will need to not lose its playability. After dinner, they take their time in the pinball machines. None of them are as good on analogical games as they are in computer games, but that doesn't stop them from having fun. There's banter, playfulness, and the night ends up being the best non-date Katsuki has ever dreamed of having. When he gets home, Bakugo tries focusing on how beautiful Izuku was focusing on the little silver ball, his tongue poking out of his mouth, his eyebrows furrowed in concentration. However, it's pretty hard to ignore the way his stomach ties itself in knots remembering the downcast expression of Deku saying the sponsors would prefer Katsuki over him. The next day, Katsuki is back to his routine. When he doesn't go to the UA gaming house to see Deku stream, Katsuki spends the whole day working on his own stream and things like that. He's been trying to focus on being entertaining and informative, not letting the rage take over his whole streaming time. He wants to, someday, be able to introduce himself properly to Deku. Katsuki may not have much hope of ever confessing to Izuku, but to keep lying about who he is and his connections with gaming has been tough. So many times in these last few months he's gotten close to blowing his cover. The only reason he managed to keep this hidden is because Izuku is a FANG angel. Deku never pressured Katsuki into talking about anything he doesn't want. Every time Bakugo clearly stumbled on his words and had to change the subject of the conversation, Izuku just smiled and went along. But Bakugo still hasn't given up. Even if their time together will soon end since it's becoming clear how good Izuku is getting with his stream, they'll still be friends. They text each other often enough, and Deku is the kind of person who never lets go of those he considers his friends. So Katsuki's current ambition is to clean up his online act enough to introduce his stream to Deku. A bunch of his viewers were complaining that he hasn't been raging and that the poll he did for his subscribers to help pick his next game doesn't have rage-inducing options. But if what those suckers think, Katsuki may lose some a-hole viewers, but he'll work 50 times as hard to get new a little less a-hole viewers. Izuku may not know, but he's been the biggest source of inspiration for Katsuki in this sheet. It was humbling and moving to watch the little nerd struggle so much and still keep trying to talk in his stream these last months. Bakugo saw firsthand Izuku trembling and cold sweating every time the camera went live, but Deku still soldiered through it, even though he needed calming tea to get his shaking hands under control at the end of the stream. The courage he saw in Deku and the desire to be completely honest with Izuku motivated Katsuki to take a serious look into his own life and career to decide what changes needed to be done. It hasn't been easy. He lost subscribers, his opinions aren't being taken seriously by the community, and most people think he'll come back to raging soon, but Bakugo Katsuki never gives up. Every day he wakes up with the sole objective of not losing his temper on stream, and what Izuku doesn't know is that he's been helping in that too. Seeing and spending time with the boy makes Katsuki so freaking happy that the sheet that usually made him furious just barely annoys him now. Sure, some people online continue being shitheads and some games are complete jokes, but does that really matter in the grand scheme of life when he can sit by Izuku's side and laugh at Kaminari's badly made videos? No, really. The world continues to be a FING big ball of shit, but, little by little, Katsuki has been caring less about it. Let the world be a mess. It's not such a big deal if Bakugo can spend time with Izuku. He's probably sounding like an obsessed stalker, but if seeing Izuku's smile can help Katsuki to not be in a state of anger around the clock, he's just gonna accept it. This sheet is as good as I remembered, he chuckles. There's no way he'll rage with WoW Classic, so today it's probably going to be easy to keep his temper in check during the stream. They really did a good job remaking this so the mechanics flow better without losing the style of the game. Look at this dash. Katsuki's phone buzzes on his desk and takes his attention from the screen. The caller ID says round face, and that makes him frown. Deku's manager has never called him before. They exchanged numbers as a mere formality when it was decided that Katsuki would be coming to the house a few times every week to work with Izuku. He has never expected her to actually call, and he's sure she wouldn't want to either. Sorry, guys, I've got to take this, he says absent-mindedly as he turns off the sound of his mic and answers the call. I'm here. Bakugu. Roundface's voice sounds through his phone. Yeah, who else? The F, are you calling for? I'm sorry to bother you, and I know this isn't your job or anything like that, it's just dash. The woman hesitates for a second before continuing. Izuku isn't doing very well. He got some news that he's not happy about, and since you seem to always calm him down after streams, I was wondering if you could come by the house today to talk to him. I'm on my way, he says, finishing the call and jumping into action. Raccoon, shitty hair, I've gotta go. Close my stream. He runs to the street, still putting on his shoes and coat. Izuku needs him and he won't waste even one freaking second before showing up to help the boy. The whole way there Katsuki is in full freak-out mode, wondering why the F hasn't he asked for any information from Roundface about Izuku's condition. When he got to the gaming house, he almost destroyed the doorbell until the manager showed up to open up for him. Open up, Roundface. Calm down, Bakugu. She comes annoyed. I'm not letting you in if you can't keep yourself in check. He's already stressed enough. I'm not going to stress him more, Katsuki hisses to her. It's your demon fault for making me worried. Ochako opens the gate, still rolling her eyes. If you had waited for a second on the call, I could have explained things better to you. Well, I'm here now. Explain away. Katsuki enters and they make way to the mansion. This morning Minoma, our marketing specialist, informed Izuku that he'll have to participate in a live panel next week in a con to promote the next WCS. He and a few other players will answer questions from the audience in the con. Ochako explains, walking beside him. Izuku got nervous because, where are you going? He isn't in his office. He's in his room. The manager stops Katsuki, who was marching to the room where he always met Izuku. She pulls Bakugu's wrist towards a huge staircase at the end of the living room that he never really thought about. As I was saying, Izuku got nervous because he won't be able to use the technique you taught him in the panel. Then he started mumbling things about never being able to do anything on his own and bothering you too much. He said something about you going away and not helping him anymore when I went to make him his tea. But he ran away to his room while I was doing that and hasn't come out since then, not even for lunch. They go up flights of stairs. Izuku's room must be on the 3rd floor. I tried giving him time to calm down, but he doesn't answer when I talk to him, so I thought you might manage it. Finally, they reach a closed door in the middle of a hallway and Ochako knocks softly. Izuku? Can I come in? No sound comes out of the room and the girl sighs, disappointed. I'll talk to him, Katsuki says with certainty, because he'll not leave until he sees Izuku smiling again. If you get him to calm down, tell him I'm talking to Shudo about Minoma and that I'll make sure he won't need to do the panel, the manager says with fire in her eyes. For a second, Katsuki feels sorry for whoever this Minoma guy. But he has bigger things to worry about now. After exchanging short nods with the girl, she leaves the corridor and Bakugu faces the door. He knocks again, but as he expected, no sound comes from the room. So he slowly opens the door and steps into the almost dark room. The lights are off, but a soft clarity comes from the window through blue curtains. The bedroom isn't very different from Deku's gaming room. There are lots of posters, merch, books, comic books, manga, basically every nerdy thing Bakugu could imagine Izuku owning. Pushed against the side wall there is a twin-sized bed with a lump of blankets in the middle of it. If Katsuki had to take a wild guess, he'd find the love of his life underneath those blankets. And he was right. As him being in the room becomes clear, the lump softly complains. I'm fine, Chico. I just want to be here on my own. Too bad I'm not round face and I don't understand bullshitish, Katsuki says quietly. The pile of covers jumps startled and a mop of curly green hair shows up for just a second before hiding back under the blankets. Is that how you're gonna welcome me to your room? Katsuki teases playfully and gets closer to the bed. I don't want to talk right now, Kaken, Izuku grumbles with a muffled voice. Bakugo kneels down so his face is on the same level as Izuku's under the covers. Alright, I'm going home then, and I'm taking this super neat All Might Golden Age figurine. It'll look nice in my dash. The lump of covers moves again and Izuku's face comes out of it looking terrified. Kaken, no. Katsuki pps an eyebrow to Deku as the boy notices he isn't, in fact, stealing his prized merch. Hi, Bakugo says softly. Hi. Izuku answers unsure. Heard you're dealing with some shit. I'm fine. Ochako shouldn't have called you, Izuku says, looking away. I'm sorry that you had to take the time to come here. Well, I ain't, Katsuki says earnestly. I like spending time with you and I'll always come when you need me. But I shouldn't need you. Nothing really happened, I'm just overreacting. If nothing really happened, even better. I'm skipping work, you're skipping work, we can take the chance to laze around the whole afternoon doing shit we like, Katsuki says shrugging. I don't want to impose on your time. You ain't fing imposing, Deku. And I can guarantee you that I lose way more working hours trying to keep my roommates in check. Katsuki gives him a half smirk. Besides, I deserve a day off, don't I? I suppose you do. Kaken works very hard, Izuku mumbles. Want to watch Dr. Stone with me? I haven't seen the last 2 episodes. That finally makes Izuku's eyes shine, but you need to. The last 2 episodes were great. You're gonna love them. The boy pulls the covers away and points to the laptop on the floor. Pick that up. We can watch it here. Izuku scooches in bed to give room for Bakugo to sit by his side and Katsuki's heart squeezes painfully on his chest. Here he is, climbing in bed with the boy he loves to watch anime, but he can't cuddle Izuku, can't steal kisses and make sweet confessions. However, Katsuki ignores his pain because right now what matters is that Deku seems to be calming down from his anxiety. They sit down with their backs against the wall and their legs almost falling off the narrow twin bed. Katsuki plops the computer on a Hearthstone pillow and puts the show to load. I know you don't want to talk about why you got so nervous. But Round Face asked me to tell you that you don't need to worry about that. She'll talk to Shudo and fix things. Katsuki says softly because he doesn't want to bring this sheet up again after he manages to make Izuku relax. Oh, he says looking away. His green eyes fill with tears instantly. Paina, why the waterworks? Sheet's gonna be fine, you won't have to do this panel bullshit, Katsuki says, softly brushing a falling tear from Deku's cheek with the back of his hand. I'm always giving people trouble, Izuku says with a broken voice. Shudo, Ochako and everyone in UA are always having to fix things for me. And you, I'm always wasting your time here online. Kaken is always taking care of me and defending me. More tears run from those beautiful green eyes and Katsuki feels his heart break at the sight. You ain't a waste of time, okay? Every second I spend helping you is effing worth it and I wouldn't change it for the world. Katsuki doesn't stop cleaning away the tears to the point he's now softly caressing Izuku's face. Deku turns to face him, the green of his eyes even more prominent against the red from the tears. Kaken, Izuku whispers. Can I ask you one thing? Yeah, Katsuki whispers back. At this moment, there isn't anything that Deku could ask from him that Bakugo wouldn't give him. I've been looking online and I may have stumbled on something I shouldn't. Katsuki instantly pulls his hand away from Izuku. That's it. That's the end and that's why Izuku said the manager he couldn't get help from Bakugo anymore. Deku found out he's Kim and wants Katsuki to vanish from his life. At the moment, Bakugo panics and blurts out his apology as fast as he can, hoping it'll sway Izuku's heart in his favor. I'm sorry I didn't say I was King Explosion Murder. Are you my Kaken? Izuku asks at the same time. What? Bakugo exclaims confused, jumping back a little. Oh. Izuku diverts his eyes away. I suppose I should confess that, too. I already knew your Kim. What the F dash? Katsuki asks confused. How did you, since when dash? And what, my kakin is dash? He can't seem to finish any sentence, too many questions run wildly in his head. That you are King Explosion Murder? I've known since Vix. Ochako told me as soon as we got back here. Izuku explains Katsuki's biggest fear as if it was nothing. They've been seeing each other for months and he has always known about Katsuki's secret online persona. And why the F, did you ask for my help? He asks in complete disbelief. Why wouldn't I? You're amazing at everything you do, Izuku says with a confused expression as well. Is that why you haven't told me? Thought I wouldn't want to be your friend if I knew. Of course. I'm a effing rager. Katsuki barks, pulling his own hair, overwhelmed. And you are? I thought I'd scare you. Izuku clicks his tongue. You could never scare me, Kakin. I'm not afraid of you just because you complain about some bad games. Oh, Katsuki looks stunned at the beautiful boy by his side. A boy who has been his true friend from day one. Who wasn't in the dark about Katsuki's flaws, and still reached out for his help. A boy who said just last night that Katsuki would be better than him in media sheet. Then you should have known how much bullshit it was saying the sponsors would prefer me over you, Katsuki says bitterly looking away. It's not bullshit. It's true. Kakin is amazing. Kim is the best streamer I've ever seen. Izuku says earnestly. You're fun and entertaining and you know so much about so many games. You can play anything. And you always do your research to bring news about releases and things like that. I've been watching your stream since we met. I love it and I know any sponsor would pick you over me instantly. Katsuki blushes a deep red during Izuku's speech and he has to look away scratching the back of his head. You're one of the embarrassing nerd. He grunts pulling his knees close so he could hide his face on them. You haven't answered my question, though, Izuku mumbles. What question? Are you my Kakin? Bakugo's heart falters a couple of beats but he doesn't allow himself to be so hopeful. He already won way past his quota with Izuku not being afraid of King. Thief, does that mean? There's a Kakin online who always defends me, Izuku says softly also looking away and blushing. I see them on Reddit and on Discord. They always bet on me in every tournament, they always make the best analysis of my matches, and they always argue with people who are criticizing me online. A soft, sad chuckle comes out of Katsuki's lips without his permission. I didn't know you were reading all that sheet. It's you, isn't it? Izuku asks with hope in his voice. Bakugo throws his head back hitting the wall. Well, he already got exposed as the violent streamer with anger management issues. How bad will it be to have his stalker tendencies out in the open as well? Ain't you the online Sherlock? I wanted to thank you, Kakin. Reading your support and kind words online has always helped me when I get too nervous. That was actually what I was doing that day at PX under the desk. I was looking to see if my Kakin had posted anything on Reddit to soften the blow. I'm glad I could help you, Katsuki says, forcing his eyes shut and keeping his head tilted back to not let any FING tears spill against his permission. I'm just curious to know. Why would you go through all of that to support me? Izuku asks softly. Isn't it effing obvious? Katsuki asks with a self-deprecating tone in his voice. I have the biggest FNG crush on you and couldn't let those fuckers spout shit they know nothing about. There, he said it. All the truth is out in the open. His heart is exposed to Deku because he couldn't keep living a lie for the person he loves. Now Izuku will understand why being around Katsuki is such a bad idea and he'll have to go back to watching the boy from afar. Katsuki is so caught up in his depressing thoughts, he doesn't even feel the bed dipping as Izuku's weight moves closer to him. All that he feels are soft wet lips giving him a gentle peck on the cheek. I've got a big crush on you too, Kakin, Izuku whispers softly, his warm breath fanning over Katsuki's face. King Explosion Murder.exe stopped working. His eyes shoot open startled and he turns his head towards Izuku so fast he gets whiplash. Izuku has a crush on him. Izuku, the beautiful boy sitting just inches away and looking at Katsuki with expectant eyes, has a crush on him. The love of his life just said he has a crush on him. How can that be? How can Izuku know about him being Kim and him being Stalker Kaken and still say he has a crush on Katsuki? Kaken? Izuku asks confused. How? He stutters. The F dash. He's stuttering now. That's Deku's thing. When Izuku does it's cute, when Bakugo does it's pathetic. Kaken is amazing, Izuku smiles. You truly are. You're nice, kind, funny. You helped me so much and you weren't even aware. I may have been kind of a stalker for these last months. Even though you didn't formally introduce yourself as Kim, I've been watching your streams. They gave me strength to improve mine. Izuku looks away blushing, but Bakugo's hand reaches for his face unconsciously, trying to get the beautiful green eyes to look at him again. Can I kiss you? He asks breathlessly. Yeah, comes the answer just as winded. As their lips touch, Katsuki's heart slams on his chest painfully. It's so much he doesn't think he can take it, but at the same time, he'd rather die of premature heart attack than stop kissing Izuku. His lips are soft, warm, and so eager for Katsuki's own. Bakugo threads his fingers on the soft green curls of the boy's head, pulling him impossibly closer. He's instantly in love with Izuku's taste and the little sighs that come out of the boy. When they separate for air, Katsuki's awarded with the brightest smile he's ever seen. Kaken. Deku. Don't ever say I don't need again, okay? It's not about needing, I want Kaken by my side always. Izuku pleads. I'll be by your side for as long as you have me, Katsuki answers, still in a daze after the kiss. Kaken, does this mean you're my boyfriend? The green-eyed boy asks with a small smile and shiny eyes. If you want me to be, yeah, Katsuki says, looking away embarrassed. I just want to be with you, nerd, in any way you'll have me. Izuku tackles him in a hug and rubs his head on Katsuki's chest, making the blonde's heart rate skyrocket. You're the best, Kaken, Izuku whispers. Takes quite a lot of little confessions and sweet kisses before Bakugo truly believes that it's all real, that he isn't hallucinating a happy ending for himself. Izuku ends up having to calm Katsuki down just as much as Katsuki had to calm Izuku down from the media issue, but it's alright because they find out they make each other better and both like to take care of the other. What are you doing? You just exploded a bomb on Suzy. Izuku complains, trying to protect the little character on the screen. Beach was on the way. I need to test if this sheet exploded right. Katsuki argues back, trying to make Kirby swallow the bomb this time. Kim, you can't swallow everything you see. I'm effing Kirby. That's the whole point of this game. No, the point of this game is to free Dreamland from Jamba Heart's corruption. And we can't do that if you keep eating the whole scenario. Well, why the F don't you play with Kirby then, Deku? Because if I pick Kirby, you will pick one of the boring other characters and our nice viewers won't be able to enjoy the vast array of playable characters in this game, Izuku says with a confident posture that makes Bakugo want to kiss the living sheet out of him. Who would say the boy who used to shake with just the idea of turning on a stream would now be bantering with King Explosion Murder live for thousands of people? It's been a long path, but they've been trailing it together, and Katsuki can say with absolute certainty that he's loving every second of it. It's their first weekend to be together without any kind of responsibility in months, no media appearances, no business meetings, no tournaments, no training, just the chance of enjoying each other's company and doing what they like. The WCS was ruthless. Izuku had to train long hours and travel for matches very often. He also had several interviews and public appearances that weren't easy for him, but Katsuki was together with Deku as often as he could. They didn't even attempt to keep their relationship off the public eye. They were done with hiding things, be it from one another or from anyone else, so King Explosion Murder became a regular face in Deku's entourage during the tournament. Katsuki was worried about his bad reputation rubbing off on Izuku, but, in the end, having two famous gamers coming out as gay and in a relationship was what really dominated the news. They had to put up with some people being bigoted assholes, but they also got a lot of support. NKM's new less aggressive stream also got noticed pretty quickly. Now Katsuki also has sponsors and he can't yell so much at his friends for calling their place a gaming house. It's been hard work, but it's nice to see Sheik coming along. And it's even nicer to be able to share all this good news with the boy he loves. Catch him. Pay attention. We almost lost Gui. Izuku whines by his side, taking Bakugo off his head. And that would have been a effing blessing, he answers with fake grumpiness. These FS are useless on the team. We could save this FA kingdom all on our own. Don't talk about them like that, Kaken. They are our teammates, we need to take care of them, Izuku berates him. Like that? Katsuki forces Gui to fall from the platform they are on. Kaken! Izuku yells indignant and Bakugo laughs so hard his eyes close and he bends over his belly, almost rolling through the bed. They set up the stream on Izuku's bedroom and are sitting on his bed, each one playing on their Switch with a camera catching their faces and conversation. They aren't even looking at the stream's chat, but Katsuki knows it's probably a mix of "OMG, they are so cute," with other less wholesome remarks. "I thought you were great at every game you played, but I was wrong. USCK at co-op?" Izuku says, pouting, and that's too much for Katsuki to resist. "That's enough for today, go do something else," he says to the camera before reaching for the computer next to the bed and turning the stream off. "What?" Izuku asks, confused, looking from the notebook to Katsuki. "I'm gonna show you what type of co-op I'm good at," is the only warning Bakugo gives his boyfriend before tackling him down onto the bed and attacking him with kisses. Izuku giggles between their lips and hugs Katsuki tight against his chest. "Yeah, you're pretty good at this, Kaken," the green-eyed boy says, smiling. He's so freaking beautiful that Bakugo's heart skips a few beats looking at his boyfriend's face. "You're perfect," Katsuki whispers without noticing, and Izuku blushes instantly. "Kaken, you're so unfair," Izuku whispers back. "How can I be mad with you when you say things like that?" "Then don't be mad. I only want to see you happy." Katsuki touches Izuku's nose with his own. "I'm always happy when I'm with you," Izuku says, smiling. "I love you, Kaken." "I love you too, nerd." And that was just one of the several streams together they had to cut short because they just couldn't resist kissing and cuddling for even one more second. Their viewers got used to the fact that every co-op game played by Kim and Deku would always take months to be finished.